Chapter 1530. He had almost forgotten the names of LV Yufan and LV Yuji. But when these three names were mentioned together, he remembered. Weren't these the names of his children? Lin Yuexiang gently nodded. I am Lin Yuexiang. Are you surprised? No, how can you be Lin Yuexiang? How can you be Lin Yuexiang? Lu Qing slumped to the ground. His clothes were drenched in sweat, and he had no strength left in his body. Especially when he remembered that the little divine doctor was his daughter, this year's top scholar was his son, and the first female official of Bei Xiao was his wife. Lu Qing couldn't believe it. How could it be like this? Lin Yuexiang is just a village woman. How could she become an official of the imperial court? Lu Qing lay on the ground and muttered to himself. He couldn't believe it. And his children, how could they have such achievements? How could the people he used to look down on be so glorious? They were already standing at a place he needed to look up to. Thus, everything he had said earlier had become a joke. The people in the imperial court just watched silently. He was like a clown performing. Your Majesty, the first thing this official wants to do today is to sue Lu Qing and seek justice for us. Secondly, she paused and said, I want to divorce Lu Qing. How can you divorce? Tang Gui interrupted. All the civil and military officials, including the emperor, looked at her. They didn't think that this eldest princess wanted to speak for Lu Qing. Sure enough, she said, Lu Qing has made such a big mistake. Not to mention the crime of deceiving the emperor, he abandoned his wife and children and even planned to defend to the death. If the news of a divorce spread, it wouldn't be good. Why don't you divorce your husband? Tang Guo winked at Lin Yuexiang. Official Lin, you are an official of the imperial court. How can you divorce such a person? Divorce your husband is the most suitable system. Host, Lin Yuexiang is going to be ruined by you. Look at Lu Qing's expression. You must be angering him to death. Lin Yuexiang reacted. Her eyes lit up as she said, Yes, Your Highness the First Princess is right. This subject wants to divorce my husband. Imperial Father, I also want to divorce my husband. Tang Shi added, the prince consort is heartless and unrighteous. He's afraid of abandoning his wife and children and even tried to frame me. I can't afford to have such a prince consort. The emperor's forehead twitched, but he still allowed it. Tang Guo waved her hand, and Ing Zhu took out a brush, ink, paper, and inkstone. Everyone in the imperial court was speechless. It turned out that the first princess had already prepared all of this. Lin Yuexiang did not hesitate to write the divorce papers. Her hands were trembling. It was her first time divorcing her husband. She was really excited. Since ancient times, no one had ever written a letter of divorce in front of so many important officials of the imperial court, right? And it was a letter of divorce. When Lin Yuexiang finished writing, Tang Shi also came over. Imperial sister, let me borrow your brush and ink. I'll definitely thank you in the future. With Tang Gui's nod, Tang Shi also wrote a letter of divorce. After she finished, she threw the letter in Lu Qing's face. From now on, her life would be free and easy. She could have as many gigolos as she wanted. As long as she was obedient and did not cause trouble, her imperial father and imperial sister would not care about what she did. What dream of becoming the eldest princess? She had thought about it a long time ago. She did not have her imperial sister's talent and experience. She could not be a role model for women. It was better to live a free and easy life. Her third imperial brother was not as good as the crown prince. With his cowardly attitude, there was no hope. Chapter 1531. Now that there was peace and prosperity, there was no need for the princess to marry. She should be satisfied with such a good time. If her third imperial brother really succeeded the throne, would there be such a prosperous era? Obviously, there was no. Lu Qing was thrown the divorce letter in the face. He only felt that the light letter hit his face painfully. Then, Lin Yuexiang walked in front of him and gently put the divorce letter in front of him. Now you and I have nothing to do with each other. No one will stop you from climbing up the ranks. These words were very ironic to Lu Qing. He was afraid that he wouldn't be able to survive today. How could these people be so hateful and want to kill him? Looking at the person in front of him, her movements were not the person in his memory. Thinking of the humiliation Lin Yuexiang gave him some time ago, Lu Qing was furious. Between the lightning and thunder, Lu Qing didn't know where he got the strength. He suddenly burst out, holding a piece of broken jade in his hand, and slashed towards Lin Yuexiang's neck. The people in the imperial court were in an uproar. They wanted to stop it, but they couldn't because they were too far away. Who would have thought that Lu Qing would suddenly attack Lin Yuexiang? Seeing that Lin Yuexiang's neck was about to be slashed, Lin Yuexiang raised her foot and kicked Lu Qing's wrist. She landed steadily on the ground with a backflip. As for Lu Qing's wrist, it had already been broken by her kick, causing him to scream in pain. Come, take Lu Qing down. The emperor ordered. Immediately, people came up and pressed Lu Qing down. He didn't defend himself, and he couldn't defend himself. The most important thing was that Lin Yuexiang's kick broke his wrist. All the civil and military officials stared in shock at Lin Yuexiang, who clearly looked very thin and weak. They didn't expect that this little girl not only knew poetry, calligraphy, and painting, but also knew farming and martial arts. No wonder he was appointed as an official by the emperor. Afterwards, Lu Qing was sentenced to be paraded through the streets for 3 days. Afterwards, Lin Yuexiang personally supervised the execution. Before the execution, Tengua asked someone to feed Lu Qing a golden millet dream. If he didn't let Lu Qing see the glory of his previous life, he wouldn't be so unwilling to die in this life. As expected, after using unrealized dream, Lu Qing's eyes were filled with malevolence as he paraded through the streets. He wanted nothing more than to devour all the onlookers. His life was supposed to be like a dream. Why? Why was it different from the dream? How was it different? Lu Qing pondered silently. Before he was dragged to be beheaded, he saw Tangguo again. She was standing on top of a pavilion, looking at him with a smile. Beside her was a man in a spotless white robe. She was different. Tangguo was different. Lu Qing thought it through. Everything came from her. Was she the one who changed everything? At that moment, Lu Qing looked at Tangguo with resentment. Host, he actually dared to glare at you. Glare, he's about to die. Lu Qing's eyes widened in disbelief. What did he just hear? Why was he able to hear her words clearly even though they were so far away? Also, what was the voice that was talking to her? It definitely wasn't Yun Buxiu. With this confusion, Lu Qing was dragged to the execution ground. Tangguo's conversation with the system was purposely revealed to Lu Qing. She wanted him to die unwillingly and confusedly. Lu Qing was dragged to the execution ground. He raised his head and looked at Lin Yuexiang, whose face was full of dignity, and shouted, I really regret not sending more people to kill you all. Lin Yuexiang looked at him expressionlessly, not saying a word. Chapter 1532. Standing on either side of Lin Yuexiang were LV Yuji and LV Yufan. They were also expressionless. They had waited for this day for a long time. Yuji, Yufan, I'm your father. Do you want to watch your father die today? Looking at the shining and sharp guillotine, Lu Qing panicked and started to shout. He didn't want to die. He really didn't want to die. If he was given another chance, he definitely wouldn't lose so miserably. He should be an extremely high official, second only to one person and above everyone else. How could he be so miserable? No matter how Lu Qing shouted, no one paid attention to him. Because of the things he had done, countless people despised him. The surrounding commoners couldn't help but throw many rotten vegetables at him. Her Highness hates Lu Qing. Why didn't she come? Lin Yuexiang asked LV Yuji in a low voice. LV Yuji was speechless. She also replied in a low voice, Her Highness said that this kind of bloody and cruel place is not suitable for someone as noble and beautiful as her. LV Yufan and Lin Yuexiang looked at each other. Her Highness really knew how to lie through her teeth. Lord Lin, it's noon. We can carry out the execution. LV Yufan cupped her hands towards Lin Yuexiang and said with a slight smile on her face. Lin Yuexiang's expression also became serious. She glanced at Lu Qing, who was still shouting crazily and didn't know what to say. She only said one word, execute. The executioner pressed Lu Qing down and fixed him in place. His hand raised and the guillotine fell. A stream of blood splattered far away. Lu Qing finally stopped making a sound. Lin Yuexiang and her son finally let out a sigh of relief. They looked at each other and left together. From then on, Lu Qing no longer existed in their lives. Lu Qing died. Tang Guo's peaceful life for half a year was suddenly broken by the sudden appearance of a person. At this moment, this woman was standing in front of her. She was also wearing an untainted white robe. Her appearance was also somewhat dusty and her figure was thin and weak. My name is Yun Huayin. I'm Big Brother Bushio's adopted sister. When Godfather died, he asked Big Brother Bushio to take care of me for the rest of my life. Yun Huayin took a deep breath and said, You are the eldest princess of Beixia. You have a noble status and there are countless men in the world for you to choose from. Please don't pester my brother Bushio. I can only leave him alone. System, host, love rival. Not a love rival. Tang Guo's tone was indifferent as she said, Yun Bushio and I are not engaged. We are not married, so we are not. System, all right. She could tell that the host really didn't care about this woman's appearance. Yun Huayin, right? Tang Guo gently raised her eyebrows. This is my princess residence. Not just anyone can enter. You can leave now. I'm not leaving. If you don't agree to leave Brother Bushio, I'll stay here forever. Oh. Tang Guo waved her hand. Throw this person out for me. If she barges in again, I'll have to consider changing a group of people. Yun Huayin's eyes widened. Before she could react, she was held down by two guards. They really directly threw Yun Huayin out from the wall. Is this how the princess of Beixia treats her guests? Tang Guo pursed her lips and smiled. I've never heard of guests climbing over walls. Only thieves would climb over walls. If you do it again, you might lose your life. Don't you dare. If you hurt me, Brother Bushio will not forgive you. Do I need his forgiveness? Tang Guo's slightly cold voice sounded. Yun Huayin, don't provoke me again. You can't afford to. Oh. Chapter 1533. Yun Huayin was thrown out of the wall by the two guards of the princess's residence, and she fell on her butt. The passers-by were surprised to see a person being thrown out. When they heard the conversation between Yun Huayin and Tang Guo, they immediately understood that this woman had offended the eldest princess. Who is this woman? From her words, she doesn't seem to be from Beixia. And she was thrown out by the eldest princess. She must have done something bad and angered the eldest princess. Otherwise, why would she be thrown out? The eldest princess has always been a reasonable person. If she didn't defend her, she wouldn't be so rude. Yun Huayin couldn't listen anymore. She stomped her feet, got up from the ground, and turned to leave. Ingzhu carefully observed Tangguo's expression. Seeing that her expression was normal, she heaved a sigh of relief. Your Highness, when the Grand Tutor returns, should we send someone to inform him? There's no need for that. Yun Huayin will definitely find out where he went. She will find him before he returns to the residence. Tangguo slowly sipped her tea. Let him settle such a small matter himself. Ha! Ingzhu was surprised. Her Highness really didn't mean to be angry. Your Highness, you're not angry. Why would I be angry? Ingzhu said softly. This woman of unknown origin seems to have a special relationship with the Grand Tutor. She spoke rudely to Your Highness. I thought Your Highness would be angry with the Grand Tutor. The Grand Tutor mentioned her to me and explained the relationship between them. Your Highness trusts the Grand Tutor so much. Tangguo raised her head and smiled. He won't lie to me. If he dares to lie to me, we won't bring him along the next time we travel to other countries. Let's see if he won't cry. Ingzhu didn't know whether to laugh or cry, but at the same time, she understood that a mere Yun Huayin would not be able to shake the trust that the Grand Tutor had built in Her Highness' heart all these years. But she also understood that if the Grand Tutor continued to pester Yun Huayin, Her Highness could only coldly and heartlessly throw him away. System, what a pitiful man. Hopefully, he wouldn't let down the host's great trust. In this world, there were only a handful of people who could gain the host's trust and travel around the world. Dear host, do you want me to monitor what Yun Huayin will say to Yun Buxiu? Do you want me to broadcast it live? No need, I'm not interested. The sun gradually set, and the horizon was covered with a layer of beautiful red clouds. Tangguo was leisurely sitting on a rattan chair, eating grapes while enjoying the rare scenery in front of her. Ingzhu stood by the side. She really couldn't figure out what her master was thinking. However, she would never delve deeper into it and recklessly speculate about His Highness's intentions. She suddenly thought of Wanzhu's fate. Wanzhu liked to make decisions on his own. For the sake of his own little thoughts, he was finally abandoned by His Highness. Later on, he helped Lu Qing to give false testimony and committed the crime of deceiving the emperor. On account of the fact that she used to be His Highness's head palace maid, the emperor gave her a white silk scarf. She heard that before Wanzhu was strangled to death, he even shouted that he was forced by Lu Qing. Seeing that no one cared about her, she called for His Highness. Her face was pale and her body was trembling as she begged His Highness to save her life. Wanzhu's fate today was all because of him. Ingzhu didn't sympathize with him at all and even came to a conclusion. Chapter 1534. As the head palace maid of His Highness, she should serve His Highness well. Naturally, she should not have too many thoughts. Seeing that the sky is getting dark, the colorful clouds in the sky are about to disappear. Suddenly, a person jumps up from the top of the wall. That person's white clothes are fluttering, and he only pauses on the wall for a moment. As if seeing that Tangguo is still there, he gently lands in front of her. I've made Your Highness wait for a long time. Tangguo raises her head and asks, how did you know that I was waiting for you and not enjoying the beautiful scenery on the horizon? So Your Highness was enjoying the beautiful scenery on the horizon. It just so happens that Buxiu brought the newly brewed fruit wine yesterday. I don't know if I can have a drink with Your Highness while waiting for the moonlight to appear. What kind of fruit wine is it this time? It's only brewed from grapes. The color is ruddy and clear. It just so happens that Buxiu brought 2 colored glass cups. It's best to use the colored glass cups to hold the red grapefruit wine. Ingzhu carefully raises her head. Sure enough, she sees that Yunbushio is holding a tray. On the tray, there is a wine pot made of white jade. Presumably, the wine in this wine pot must be the wine brewed from grapes. In addition, there are also two exquisite and beautiful colored glass cups. Yunbushio puts the wine pot and cups on the stone table in front of Tang Guo and pours a cup for her first. Sure enough, when the red liquid is poured into the colored glass cup, it's very beautiful. Especially when the moon slowly climbs up, the silvery white moonlight sprinkles down, making the two half-filled colored glass cups even more beautiful. State Preceptor is a person who enjoys life very much. You even found such a rare colored glass cup for me. Tang Guo holds the cup and gently takes a small sip. The taste is not bad. It's good that your highness likes it. Yunbushio has been observing Tang Guo's expression. Seeing that she is not angry, he is slightly relieved, but also has some indescribable feelings. Today, your highness has been wronged. I didn't expect that my adopted sister would come to your highness's mansion to make a scene. I didn't suffer any grievances. I am the princess. With a command, she was thrown over the wall by my guards. When Yunbushio heard her words, she smiled and said, Your Highness. What else does the imperial tutor want to say? Don't take my adopted younger sister's words seriously. I hope that your highness will only believe what comes out of your mouth, and not believe what you hear from others. Tang Guo gently raised her head with a slight smile on her face. That pair of beautiful and clear eyes looked straight at Yunbushio. It was just an ordinary glance, but it made Yunbushio's heart beat wildly. She almost couldn't control it. Her heart was filled with emotions. When I believe in someone, I believe in that person. Even if thousands of people say that this person is not good, as long as I don't see that he is not good, he is good. State Preceptor, in the past, I would never believe a person's words, no matter how convincing they are. These sincere words had relieved Yunbushio of all her worries. The emotions that were about to spurt out from his heart stopped beating wildly. He only felt that there was a trickle in his heart. It was warm and sweet. This afternoon, after meeting Yunhuayin, he heard a lot of things from her. Actually, he didn't listen to what Yunhuayin wanted to say at all. He only heard that Yunhuayin had barged into the princess's mansion. Your Highness, I heard that you are planning to travel around the world for 5 years. Will you bring Bushio along? I will. Chapter 1535. The emperor heard that Tang Guo was going to travel around the various countries to observe the local customs and customs of each country, as well as their soil. While she was at it, she was going to visit the various countries and make friends with them. He only sighed and allowed it. This was a good thing. He was just a little reluctant. He, Guo, had contributed so much to Bei Xia as a woman. It should be recorded in the annals of history. The empress stayed by Tang Guo's side until her eyes were red from crying. She held her hand and refused to let go, expressing her reluctance. She was going for 5 years. How could a woman who had been pampered since she was young wander around and live such a hard life? What if she encountered some natural disaster along the way? Tang Ji was also reluctant, but he did not persuade her. He knew that his persuasion was useless. His imperial father had already allowed it, so he could only silently choose to support it. He could not do what his sister could do, nor could he do it. The only thing he could do was to learn from his imperial father how to govern the country, so that he would not let down her good intentions. If he still could not continue the prosperous era after she did this, then he would really be a mediocre person. When the people heard that their eldest princess was going to travel around the various countries to observe their customs and environment, in exchange for species that Bei Xia did not have, they were all grateful with tears in their eyes. On the day Tang Guo left in the carriage, the entire imperial city's people went to send her off. Even Tang Shi was here. Beside Tang Shi, there were two rather good-looking men. She looked at Tang Guo with a complicated expression. People like Imperial Sister are like the sun in the sky that can illuminate the entire earth. People like us who only enjoy the warmth of the sun cannot compare to her. Imperial Sister, I wish you a safe return. After going through so much, from the jealousy and hatred towards her Imperial Sister to the relief now, Tang Shi understood a lot. Bei Xiao's days were getting better and better. Now, many countries wanted to import crop seeds from them. Everyone in Bei Xiao was well fed and warm, and their soldiers were strong. Perhaps for many years to come, no one would dare to have any ideas about them. If there was no war, these princesses' days would be better. Once there was war, regardless of whether they could fight or not, the princesses would inevitably be sent to political marriages. As for her royal sister, she used another method to make the northern summer country so powerful that other countries did not dare to make an enemy out of them. She admired him and could no longer be jealous. I just can't stay here. I want to go out for a walk, Tang Guo said with a smile. Tang Shi almost rolled her eyes in front of everyone. The last time he left, he brought back Lin Yuexiang and her two children. Bei Xiao's first female official, a top scholar, a godly doctor, and some rare crops in the wild. Now that it had been 5 years, who knew how many things he would bring back? Tang Guo's carriage started to move slowly. Tang Shi kept looking at the back of the carriage until it finally disappeared from her sight. Your Highness looks a little sad. Now that the first princess has left, no one will be able to steal your limelight. Isn't that a good thing? Hearing the man's words, Tang Shi slapped him in the face. You can get lost now. The man covered his face in disbelief. He didn't understand at all. Wasn't it just a sentence? Why was he beaten up by the second princess? Tang Shi glanced at the man. You short-sighted thing. Don't try to sow discord in front of this princess. This princess is far from Imperial Sister. How can we compare? Ignorant. Chapter 1536. A man who was short-sighted and tried to sow discord did not make Tang Shi change her flirtatious habits. She loved beauty. In the past, the more good-looking a man was, the more she was interested in him. Now, she preferred a man who was good-looking and did not need to be too smart, but had to be tactful and sensible. Only then would she keep him by her side. As a result, her gigolos had decreased by more than half, but those who stayed were extremely obedient. Her days were more comfortable. As for her relationship with the third prince, it had been broken many years ago. The third prince seemed to dislike her as a sister. He thought that she was a flirtatious person and would not be able to achieve great things. After Lu Qing was beheaded, the third prince even wanted to introduce someone to her. He wanted to rope this person in. Tang Shi rejected him on the spot. She still wanted to live a peaceful life and did not want to be dragged down by others. Now that she, as a princess, had avoided the political marriage, her days were much better. How could she be willing to be used by the third prince just because of her blood relationship with him? Her father, the crown prince, and her elder sister were not fools. Because of this, she even kindly advised the third prince to behave himself and not cause any trouble. The third prince said on the spot, "It's just a woman's view. I didn't expect you to be such a greedy person. Tang Shi, you will regret it." Tang Shi did not know if she would regret it in the future, but she was living a good life now. During Tang Guo's tour of the various countries, it was not peaceful. This was not peaceful, but it did not mean that there were many dangers along the way. It was that Yun Huayin was a clingy person who would suddenly appear in front of them. Every time Yun Huayin appeared, she would complain to Tang Guo with a face full of complaints. Otherwise, she would point at Tang Guo and say something. When Tang Guo was annoyed, she would get someone to throw her out. Then, Yun Huayin would explode and look for Yun Buxiu on the spot. When she saw Yun Buxiu, she wanted to throw herself into Yun Buxiu's arms and cry pitifully. Unexpectedly, Yun Buxiu saw that the situation was not right and quickly jumped up high. She turned around and jumped behind Tanggua. She even whispered to Tanggua, "Your Highness, I'm also considered one of your people. At this time, you have to protect me." When Yun Huayin saw how close Yun Buxiu and Tanggua were, she stomped her feet angrily. "Brother Buxiu," she asked someone to throw me away just now. "Aren't you going to help me vent my anger?" Yun Buxiu replied, "Sister, don't appear in front of His Highness. If His Highness can't see you, he naturally won't ask anyone to throw you away. This matter can be easily resolved. I'm just a lowly imperial tutor while Her Highness is the princess of the northern summer country. Her status is noble and I have to obey Her Highness' orders." It would have been better if he didn't say this. Now that he said it, Yun Huayin was even angrier. "Brother Buxiu, why do you have to do this? He has been with her for so many years, but she didn't get together with you. It's obvious that she doesn't like you at all. Why are you so dead set on her?" "Sister, His Highness can live without me, but I can't live without His Highness. I'm willing to accompany His Highness. And His Highness doesn't treat me as badly as you say. Only I can experience His Highness's kindness to me. You can't understand." Yun Buxiu said, "Sister, I only have brotherly feelings for you. Back then, I only promised Godfather to treat your illness. Now that you've recovered, I'll treat it as repaying Godfather's kindness. In your words just now, I don't like you either. Why do you keep following me? This won't end well." Chapter 1537. I don't care. Godfather said that you have to promise to take care of me for the rest of my life. Yun Buxiu stole a glance at Tanggua. Seeing that her expression was normal, he said, "I didn't promise. I only promised to cure your illness." Yun Huayin clenched her teeth and didn't say anything else. After a moment of silence, she turned her gaze to Tanggua. "Tanggua, Brother Buxiu is so good. You're not worth it. He likes you so much, but you're indifferent and don't want to be with him. I've never seen such a cold-hearted person like you. Let me tell you, I won't take this lying down. One day, I'll make Brother Buxiu come back to my side. System, in your dreams. Once you're in the hands of the host, how can you escape?" It was impossible. After that day, Yun Huayin didn't appear again. Tanggua didn't care about this person. She treated her as if she never appeared. Yun Buxiu was also very tactful. He didn't mention Yun Huayin at all. Just as he said, he had already repaid his godfather's kindness. He wouldn't bother with Yun Huayin anymore. On the other hand, His Highness didn't blame Yun Huayin for venting her anger on him. He felt a little happy. System, this guy is getting easier to satisfy. Maybe it's because he's been through too much hardship. Just a little sugar makes him feel sweet. Without Yun Huayin's entanglement, Tanggua's journey was much faster. During this period, she visited 20 countries, both big and small. The people of these countries had long heard that the eldest princess of Bei Xiao was going to travel around the countries. They had been looking forward to her arrival. Establishing a peaceful friendship with the northern summer would only be beneficial to them. In the 5th year, Tanggua fulfilled her wish and visited all the countries in her plan. When she returned to the imperial city, it was even more prosperous. When the citizens heard that she was coming back, they waited outside the city very early. Seeing her pulling carriages of things behind her, that familiar carriage made them feel a little teary. Tanggua had originally decided to come back in the 6th year. But the emperor's health couldn't take it anymore, so she had to bring it forward. In these few years, she had actually encountered many dangers. Those who wanted to kill her and kidnap her all died miserably in the end. By the 4th year, those dangers were basically gone. It was as if the other party already understood that no matter how many people they sent, they would not be able to take her life. Raising an assassin required a lot of money. Every time, there would be no return. It was simply unbearable. Tang Guo hurriedly rushed to the imperial palace and met the emperor. She told him everything that she had encountered and seen over the years. Even if he talked for 10 days to half a month, he wouldn't be able to finish everything. Tang Guo only talked about the important points, and the empress accompanied her. She held the emperor's hand and listened together. The emperor's aged face was full of smiles. From time to time, Gray would say, "Guo is really awesome. Guo doesn't belong to men. Who said that women are not as good as men?" Guo had done something that no one had ever done before. Crown Prince Tang Ji's eyes were red. Before his younger sister came back, his imperial father didn't have any energy at all. He couldn't eat and almost couldn't speak. Now that he had said so much in one breath, it could only be the final radiance of the setting sun. In the end, the emperor took Tang Guo's hand and patted it gently. "Guo, imperial father wants to thank you. You made imperial father an emperor who started the golden age. My life was not in vain. You have always been imperial father's good Guo." Tang Guo paused and looked into the emperor's penetrating eyes. She said, "Imperial father is also imperial son's good imperial father. Thank you for your help, oh." Chapter 1538. The emperor left with a smile. Not long after, the crown prince, Tang Ji, ascended the throne. On the day of the ascension, there was a small disturbance. It was the third prince, Tang Zhao, who appeared with many soldiers to usurp the throne. He came with a strong momentum, but he found that things were different from what he had imagined. His small number of people were instantly washed away like a broken dam. Seeing his people fall down one by one, the third prince's eyes widened in disbelief. Tang Shi stood in the position of the imperial family, and his expression was somewhat indescribable. What kind of courage did this idiot have to think that he could seize the throne with 1,000 soldiers? After so many years, he still didn't understand. "I can't accept this." The third prince's eyes were about to split open as he was tied up and dragged down. "Father has just passed away. Today is a good day for me to ascend the throne. It's not good to see blood. Pass down the order, imprison the third prince in the mansion. Without permission, he is not allowed to leave the mansion for the rest of his life." It was impossible to kill his own brother as soon as he ascended the throne. Tang Ji was not that stupid. No one cared about such a small mistake, and the ascension ceremony continued. When Tang Ji became the emperor, the first thing he did was to confer titles. Everyone who followed him was promoted. Tang Guo naturally became the eldest princess. Tang Ji conferred the title, Feng Shuo. It meant that she brought a bumper harvest to Beixia every year, changed the living environment of everyone in Beixia, and allowed everyone in Beixia to have enough food and clothing. Princess Feng Shuo was the legend of the Northern Summer Kingdom. After that, Tang Ji rewarded his obedient younger brothers and sisters. State Preceptor Yun Buxiu was still the state preceptor. One day, Tang Ji found Yun Buxiu and asked directly, "State Preceptor, your 20 years of office is about to expire. When are you leaving?" Until now, Tang Ji still couldn't stand Yun Buxiu. Every day, he hoped that he would get lost and not stick to his sister all day. Now that he was the emperor, his sister naturally had to be doted on by him. What did an outsider mean by showing affection in front of his sister every day? "Your Majesty, I want to extend the term." Yun Buxiu said with a straight face, I still have some skills. Not only do I know how to tell the weather, but I also know some medical skills. He looked as if he would never be able to find such a cheap and practical state preceptor again if he left. Tang Ji was so angry that he laughed. Extension period. Tang Ji frowned. How long do you plan to extend it? This guy's skin was really thick. Actually, he also understood that Yun Buxiu's existence was still quite important. Natural disasters could be avoided, but natural disasters were hard to predict. With Yun Buxiu's divination, they could do a lot of things. It was all thanks to Yun Buxiu that the various disasters that had happened over the years could be minimized. Until death. Tang Ji, can he say get lost? Yun Buxiu returned home happily. She changed into a clean set of clothes and climbed over the wall to Tang Guo's courtyard. Sure enough, she was there. Your Highness, His Majesty asked me when I would be leaving today. From the looks of it, he thought that Zhang Xian wouldn't be able to tell, and he nearly asked him to scram. What did the state preceptor say? Yun Buxiu revealed a smile and said rather proudly, I said that I wanted to extend the term and that I was important. His Majesty allowed it. How long did you extend it for? Tang Guo followed the topic and asked. Yun Buxiu was very satisfied. Her Highness clearly knew, but she still didn't expose him. How could he give up such a good life? I said until death. Yun Buxiu's deep eyes met Tang Guo's smile. Hearing him say, until death, the Emperor's eyes almost ate him up. Chapter 1539. As the days passed, Yun Buxiu continued to climb over the wall. Over time, he began to think that this was a good idea. Over the years, the princess's mansion had been renovated several times. The only thing that had not changed was this wall. So, does this mean that His Highness left a door for him to go over? Not long after, the new emperor of Xiyin country also ascended the throne. Xiyin country was very close to Beixia country. Many years ago, Beixia country and Xiyin country were equally matched. Now, they were certainly not as good as Beixia country. But as a country that had been friendly for many years, Beixia country still sent a messenger to congratulate the new emperor of Xiyin country on his ascension. He had thought that this matter would be over just like that. Tang Ji also did not expect that the new emperor of Xiyin country would come in person. He thought the other party wanted to talk about cooperation. After all, Beixia country was now rich in products and had a strong army. Even if someone wanted to rob them, it was just like hitting a rock with an egg. It was better to obediently use the things in his country to exchange. Since the other party was so sincere, Tang Ji still held a banquet in the palace to welcome the new emperor of Xiyin country. That night, the royal family, ministers, and women were all present. Tang Guo, the iconic princess of Beixia country, sat on the left side of Tang Ji. Yun Buxiu sat on the right side of him. Yun Buxiu was not satisfied with this. He would rather sit next to His Highness than enjoy this honor given to him by the emperor. Originally, the guests were all happy. Unexpectedly, the new emperor of Xiyin country suddenly stood up, first toasted Tang Ji 3 times, and then raised his glass to Tang Guo. At this point, no one felt that there was anything wrong. In everyone's view, their plump princess deserved such treatment. After the 3 glasses were drunk, the new emperor of Xiyin country spoke, I have admired Her Highness for a long time. Today, I want to marry Her Highness with 9 cities and a peace treaty between the 2 countries for 100 years. I wonder if Your Highness is willing. The sudden proposal infuriated everyone present. The smile on Tang Ji's face disappeared in an instant. The wine glass in Yun Buxiu's hand had been smashed into powder. Lin Yuexiang's desk was left with a deep fist print. LV Yufan's pair of smiling eyes have been fixed on the Western Cloud Emperor's face. That smile that is not a smile almost made the palace maid beside her, who was pouring wine, almost trip over. Oh my, the Prime Minister's smile is really scary. In LV Yuji's hand, there were already several silver needles glowing with cold light. If the person who spoke was not the Emperor of Xian country, her silver needles would have already flown out uncontrollably. You wish. While everyone at the banquet was silent and their eyes were filled with anger, Tang Guo was the only one who still had a smile on her face. She said lightly, "Who gave you the courage?" The new Emperor of Xian country also felt it. When he said those words, the originally friendly eyes around him became fierce, as if they wanted to swallow him whole. He believed that his offer of 9 cities and a peace treaty for 100 years was truly unprecedented and would never be matched by anyone in the future. No matter how noble the eldest princess was, she was still a woman. As an emperor, who didn't love the country? Wasn't it good to have 9 more cities? When he heard Tang Guo say those words, he was also a little angry. Chapter 1540. But thinking of his promise to Huayin, if it wasn't for Huayin's help, he wouldn't have won the battle in the palace and become the new emperor of the Western Cloud country. Your Highness, are you not satisfied with these conditions? Tang Guo shook her head and smiled softly. I'm just not satisfied with you. Seeing Tang Guo shaking her head, the Western Cloud Emperor thought he had a chance. But when he heard Tang Guo's words, the smile on his face gradually disappeared. Then what is your Highness dissatisfied with me? Tang Guo supported her chin with one hand and said, too flowery, too old, too ugly, too stupid, too naive. The ministers of Bei Xia country, your Highness Princess Royal is wise. Lin Yuexiang and her 2 sons looked at each other, and a smile appeared on their faces again. His Highness' conclusion was really amazing. The Western Cloud Emperor has countless concubines and is really flowery. This year, he is in his 40s and is indeed very old. Looking at his appearance, they then turned to look at Yun Buxiu, who was sitting at the side. He wasn't young either. It was as though time hadn't left any traces on him. He was still the same as before. This Western Cloud Emperor was truly ugly. As for being too stupid, he was really stupid. Only someone with a brain that was stuck in the door would think that their Princess Royal would marry him. Being the Empress, being the Princess Royal, would be so comfortable. Therefore, this person was really naive. When Yun Buxiu heard Tang Guo's words, he was first happy and then quickly looked at himself. He can't see his appearance and actually lowered his head. From the reflection of the wine cup, he can see that he is not bad. He is relieved. It seems that in the future, he will have to make some nourishing flower tea for himself to keep his appearance young and not be disliked by Her Highness. This time, the Western Cloud Emperor is really angry. Your Highness Princess Royal, this is too humiliating. You are the one who is humiliating. What can you do to me? Tang Guo said with a smile. She has worked hard for more than 20 years and finally cultivated a large group of people and established a unique position. In this Bei Xia country, it can be said that she can do whatever she wants and Tang Ji will indulge her. She estimated that if she wants to be the emperor, Tang Ji will not oppose and will be very happy. What could a mere West Cloud Emperor do to her? Emperor of Northern Xia, is this how you treat your guests? I've long heard of Princess Royal's reputation, but seeing her today, I didn't expect her to be so unsightly. Tang Ji raised his eyelids slightly and said casually, Jin dotes on her. What about you? Yun Buxiu was anxious. What did he mean by you spoiled him? He was clearly spoiled too. Everyone spoiled him together. Why did he have to take all the credit? The ministers below also had a look of even if you're the emperor, you can't steal the credit like this. They also had a share in spoiling the eldest princess. they couldn't take all the credit. But it was just right. Obviously, Tang Ji's words were more imposing. After all, he was the emperor. The West Cloud Emperor really didn't expect the result to be like this. He looked at Tang Ji angrily. Emperor of Northern Xia, do you want to start a war? I like peace, but the dog on the other side of the wall has to jump out and bite people. But I'm not afraid. Winter is coming, and it's a good time to catch the dog and stew it with dog meat soup. The West Cloud Emperor was angry. You all are too much. Imperial brother, I don't want to look at him. This person is old and ugly and stupid. Throw him out. Everyone is waiting to eat. If he continues to be hungry, he will have stomach problems. LV Yuji echoed, Your Majesty, Her Highness is right. If you don't eat on time, it will be bad for your stomach. Chapter 1541. There are so many courtiers here. It's not good if they are really hungry. LV Yuji continued. Your Majesty, this subject is indeed very hungry. Now my stomach is a little uncomfortable. Lin Yuexiang said without changing her expression. She didn't even cover her stomach. She really didn't give any face. Your Majesty, this subject is also hungry. Then, all the courtiers stood up. Your Majesty, this subject is very hungry. I don't know when we can eat. I'm also hungry. Yun Bushio said. Tang Ji looked at this scene and almost laughed crazily. He must be the happiest emperor in the history of Bei Xia. This was really the unity of all the people. He was so comfortable. It was said that when one was in a good mood, one would live a long life. Since ancient times, emperors had short lives. He must be the one who lived a long life. Come, throw these people out for me. Tang Ji didn't hesitate anymore. Everyone was waiting to eat. He couldn't let so many of his own people starve for an outsider. They might even get sick from hunger. Most importantly, his precious sister didn't want to look at this person. He must throw him out. The West Cloud Emperor struggled and shouted, What are you doing? Then, he was thrown out. After the eyesore was thrown out, Tang Ji waved his hand. Everyone has been waiting for a long time. Now, we can eat. Without the emperor of Xian country, the royal family, ministers, and other people who were present were eating happily. They felt that today's vegetarian dishes were really fresh and tender. They were crispy and delicious. The meat was also very tender and smooth. It was really good. If there was a palace banquet every day, it would be really great. The next day, the news that the West Cloud Emperor was thrown out at the palace banquet because he failed to marry Princess Royal. This news was spread like wildfire. The West Cloud Emperor originally thought that the people would be worried about the war when they heard such a thing. He never expected that. Well done. That dog of a West Cloud Emperor actually dared to have ideas about our Princess Royal. Bah, it's really an insult to Princess Royal. Is Princess Royal only worth 9 cities? I heard that the West Cloud Emperor even threatened the Emperor with war. That's why the Emperor was angry. Do you think we are afraid? As long as he dares to fight, we won't be afraid. If we really go to war, I'll give half of my family's assets to our officers and soldiers, and ask them to fight fiercely. In the end, the Western Cloud Emperor left silently. The Northern Xia country's emperor was fierce, the princess was fierce, the ministers were fierce, and the commoners were especially fierce. War. He really didn't dare. Anyone with a bit of knowledge would know that Bei Xia had a strong army. How could they fight? The Western Cloud Emperor had not yet returned to the Western Cloud country, but the news of him being thrown out of the palace banquet had already spread to the Western Cloud country. Yun Huayin did not expect that the West Cloud Emperor, whom she had painstakingly helped seize power, would not even be able to marry a princess. Attack them, Yun Huayin said. Take down Base Xia and you'll be able to vent your anger. The West Cloud Emperor hurriedly shook his head. We can't fight. We are no match for the Northern Summer. Yun Huayin pursed her lips. Then you have to think of a way to make Tangua get married. Don't let her pester brother anymore. I can't think of a way. If Base Xia wants to attack us, it will happen in an instant. We won't have the strength to resist. Not only are they strong, but the commoners are also ruddy. How can we compare? Then develop. I'll help you. Chapter 1542. I still don't believe that I can't compare to her. If 1 year isn't enough, I'll take 10 years. If 10 years aren't enough, I'll take 20 years. If 20 years aren't enough, I'll take 30 years. I'll definitely surpass her. After that, Yun Huayin really began to help Xian develop. Unfortunately, she didn't know much about this. Even though she had read many books and even endured her disgust for Tangua to read some stories about her. For the sake of Yun Buxiu, she even humbly consulted the old farmers and followed Tangua's method. Unfortunately, she wasn't Tangua. Even if she copied her, she couldn't draw the same thing. The results were really too different. Since the last time, Base Xia had cut off contact with them. The other countries also knew that the two countries were not on good terms, so they didn't dare to have more contact with them for fear of angering Base Xia. Just like that, 3 years passed. Xian country only improved a little, but Yun Huayin didn't give up. After 10 years, Xian country finally improved a little. The emperor of Xian was a little happy. At least he had a goal. Over the years, he had thought a lot. He didn't want to be complacent when he became the emperor and thought that he could really marry the eldest princess of Base Xia. If he could turn back time, he would definitely not do that. Perhaps Xian country had already developed very far by sucking up to Base Xia. But Yun Huayin had helped him and was also his benefactor. Now, there were many things that Yun Huayin had to do. He could only turn a blind eye to it. In the blink of an eye, 20 years had passed. Yun Huayin thought that the current Xian country should not be worse than Base Xia. She didn't immediately let the emperor of Xian order to attack Base Xia. Instead, she planned to secretly go to Base Xia to inquire about the situation. Moreover, it had already been 20 years since she last saw Yun Buxiu. She wanted to see if the eldest princess was still as beautiful as she was back then after 20 years. She looked at herself in the bronze mirror, who was gradually aging. She had carefully taken care of her appearance. That eldest princess was slightly older than her. Could she be better than her? People would age. No matter how well they took care of themselves, they couldn't resist the passage of time. When they entered the city of Base Xia, Yun Huayin was a little surprised. The cities that they passed by were really too prosperous. Basically, she didn't see any cities that were not prosperous. Almost every city could be compared with the imperial city of Xian country. Her heart had already sunk to the bottom of the valley. When she arrived at the royal city of the northern Xia country, she looked at the magnificent city walls and the tall, strange buildings that rose from the ground. She only pursed her lips and didn't say a word. How could she have forgotten that in the past 20 years, she had been improving slowly while northern Xia had been improving rapidly? It was impossible for them to catch up. However, she still wanted to see Yun Buxiu and the eldest princess, even if she had already lost. Tomorrow is the death anniversary of Princess Fengshuo and the imperial preceptor. Every time this day comes, my heart hurts. This sentence suddenly entered Yun Huayin's ears, causing her to be stunned. Death anniversary. She must have heard wrongly. How could Brother Bushido die so early? As for the eldest princess, she lived like a princess. With so many people spoiling her, she would also live for a long time. There was still no clear winner between them. She hadn't won against her yet. How could she die at that time? After asking many people, she got the same answer. They were dead. Yun Huayin walked in the royal city in a daze. She heard many stories about Tanghua and Yun Buxiu. On the day of their death anniversary, she bought a courtyard in the royal city, which was just opposite the eldest princess' residence. Live together and fly away together. Dream on. When I die, I will also occupy a place here. Don't think about having peace. Chapter 1543. When Tanguo opened her eyes, 4 people appeared in her line of sight. 2 men and 2 women. They looked very young, probably in their early 20s. The 4 of them had pretty good appearances. The men were handsome and the women were beautiful. However, one of the women was very thin and her face was a little pale. However, it wasn't hard to tell that she was quite good-looking. If her skin was rosy again, she would definitely look better. I feel that this city is really strange. The one who spoke was another girl. She looked cute and playful. She lowered her voice and said, "Why are they so happy? They keep smiling every day. Isn't it strange?" This girl was called Yin Xiaofei. In this world, she was a relatively important female supporting character. After all, it's the Rubik's Cube world. The city inside definitely isn't normal. This was Yin Xiaofei's brother, Yin Rui. A supporting male lead who had always been secretly in love with the female lead was only willing to take out the key passed down by his ancestors to open the Rubik's Cube world. It was a very simple bronze plate that was not exquisitely crafted. Naturally, the man and woman sitting on the other side were the male and female leads of this world. The male lead was called Di Qinming and the female lead was called Yi Yingxue. The cause of this matter was the female lead, Yi Yingxue, who had a terminal illness. Di Qinming and Yi Yingxue were very loving. However, Yi Yingxue's terminal illness broke all their sweetness. Although the 2 of them had good family backgrounds, they were helpless in the face of terminal illness. They tried many methods but still couldn't find a way. In the end, in order to let Yi Yingxue live longer, they chose conservative treatment. They used traditional Chinese medicine to gently nurse Yi Yingxue's body. Because she didn't go through chemotherapy, she didn't keep her long hair. However, because of the terminal illness, her hair was a little yellow and dry. It wasn't as black and beautiful as before. The doctor once said that Yi Yingxue could only live for 3 years at most. After 3 years, she would definitely die. This was the result after they nursed her back to health. Di Qinming wasn't willing to accept this result. He began to flip through all kinds of strange ancient books. Finally, he found a strange ancient book. After deciphering the words in the ancient book, he knew about the existence of the Rubik's Cube world. In the Rubik's Cube world, he could find medicine that could cure terminal illnesses and even prolong life. However, in the Rubik's Cube world, he needed a key. Coincidentally, he saw the picture of a key in the ancient book. He was stunned. He had seen this key when he was young. It was exactly the same in his childhood friend Yin Rui's house. He found Yin Rui and explained his intentions. Yin Rui was secretly in love with Yi Yingxue, so he agreed and gave the bronze plate to Di Qinming. He had the key, but how was he going to open it? With the 2 of them working together, they flipped through the ancient books in the Yin family's collection and found the method to open it. The method was very simple. It required a man and a woman with the Yin family bloodline to drip a drop of blood onto the bronze plate. Then, the gate to the magic cube world could be opened. After the 2 of them discussed it, they felt that it was feasible. Yin Xiaofei agreed when she heard that there was such a magical place that could save Yi Yingshua's life. In this way, the four of them used the key to open the door to the Rubik's Cube world. They didn't know that the ancient book was incomplete. In the incomplete part, there was only one sentence: entering the Rubik's Cube is easy, leaving the Rubik's Cube is difficult. However, given Di Qinming's personality, even if there was a tiny bit of hope, even if he saw this sentence, he would still choose to open it. He was even afraid that the Yin siblings would not agree and would hide this matter. Therefore, it didn't matter whether he knew or not. Chapter 1544. They were lucky to meet the original owner of the Rubik's Cube world, Tanghua. The original owner's identity was not simple. It could be said that she could walk freely in the Rubik's Cube world without any restrictions. The reason why she was attracted to them was because of Di Qinming's infatuation. She didn't think that after entering the Rubik's Cube world and going through several cycles, there would still be people who could maintain their original heart. The Rubik's Cube world was very dangerous, but it also represented many opportunities. If they could go in and out at will, she believed that many people would be willing to come here. She didn't believe it, but she didn't intend to destroy their relationship. She was just curious, or maybe bored, so she wanted to participate in their adventure. When they encountered danger, she would give them a few pointers, so that they wouldn't die early and she wouldn't be able to see the results. The original owner's decision could be considered as a cheat for Di Qinming and the others. Even if they encountered many dangers along the way, they would be injured every time they arrived at a new world. They would encounter various dangers and hardships. But with the original owner's existence, at least they wouldn't die like the others. The Rubik's Cube world was a world of its own, divided into 6 small worlds, named 6 cities. Common currency, Rubik's Cube coins. The place where the male and female leads appeared was called Happiness City. After a month's cycle, they would be randomly sent to another city. These cities were called Fun City, Fantasy City, Death City, Sin City, and Trading City. They finally arrived at Trading City, which was a paradise for everyone who wandered in the Rubik's Cube world. Trading City, as its name suggested, was a city where you could trade things. There were all kinds of things that couldn't be bought in other worlds, and they could be exchanged with money. There was nothing that you couldn't imagine that wasn't sold here. Not to mention the medicine for terminal illness. As long as you had enough Rubik's Cube coins, you could even sell your youth and unlimited lifespan. After so many hardships, Di Qinming and the others saved up a lot of Rubik's Cube coins after the original owner's reminder. After arriving at Trading City, he immediately bought the medicine for terminal illness and cured Yi Yingshua's disease. Then he bought lifespan, youth, and martial arts for each other. At this time, he finally thought of how to get out. He still had a lot of Rubik's Cube coins left. The original owner told them that there was a lottery box in Trading City. There was a chance to draw the key to the Rubik's Cube world. As long as they drew the key, they could get out. However, the chances were very small. Many people had lived here for tens of thousands of years and still hadn't drawn it. So many years had passed, but no one had ever heard of it. In the end, Di Qinming and the rest spent all their Rubik's Cube coins but did not get the key. They didn't like the Rubik's Cube world that rotated every month. Moreover, the world here was synchronized with the outside world. They still had loved ones they cared about, so they couldn't stay here. It would be another 6 months before the next turn would take place. One day, Di Qinming found the original owner of the body. When she was unprepared, he took out a dagger from the lottery box and stabbed it into her heart. Then, he said, "Do you think it's fun to play with us ordinary people? You're the city lord of the city of trade, right? As long as I kill you, the exchange city will collapse and the magic cube world will disappear. Once this world disappears, all of us will naturally be able to leave. The original owner had never thought that the scheming Di Qinming would suddenly make a move on her. Chapter 1545. The previous owner of the body did not know that Di Qinming has a powerful main character halo in this world. Even an ordinary person would eventually obtain everything he or she wanted due to various fortuitous encounters. Even the previous owner of the body is only one of his halos. Now that this halo is obstructing him, he must get rid of it. The lottery box of the City of Trade should not contain a weapon that can threaten the life of the city lord. But nothing is absolute, and accidents are bound to happen. Di Qinming is the cause of this accident. It can be said that this divine artifact exists for Di Qinming. With his scheming nature, he will hide the weapon the moment he draws it from the lottery box. When the previous owner of the body dissipates, she finally knows how her identity was exposed. The reason is the weapon. There is a powerful spirit attached to the weapon. The spirit seems to know the secret of the Rubik's Cube world. According to the previous owner of the body, the spirit has been waiting for the person who can break the Rubik's Cube world. When Di Qinming was brought to the lottery box by the previous owner of the body, the mysterious spirit knew his chance had come. Di Qinming was able to draw this divine artifact because of this spirit. There was no need to guess what happened next. Di Qinming must have been bewitched by this soul and believed what the other party said. He also wants to leave this world and does not want to stay in this world. He chose to use the weapon to stab the previous owner of the body in the heart and cause the City of Trade to collapse. In the Rubik's Cube world, every city is closely related. If one city is destroyed, the entire Rubik's Cube world will collapse. Curiosity killed the cat. After receiving the memories, Tanguo said. So what if she is the city lord of the City of Trade? Without her, these people might not have survived until the end. In the end, it was just a violation of his own interests. Coincidentally, someone gave him an excuse to stab the original owner to death. Then, great host, you have just met. Why don't you just leave and let them die? Di Qinming, this ungrateful bastard, it's better to let him die here. He is the male lead. He will not die. Without me, he will encounter other halos that are not easy to control. Furthermore, I still need him to lure that divine artifact out. It's been hidden in the lottery box for so long, and it's even in my trading city without being discovered. It's definitely not that simple. So, the system's voice was weak. Host, you mean to say that if you continue to accompany them, you will have to accompany them until the end? Yes, but this time, I won't remind them where the danger is. System, oh, I understand. Are you trying to mess with Di Qinming the entire way? This time, I want to be a weak little girl. I want to be pretty and have some fighting skills. I don't know anything else. System, what kind of joke is this? He looked at Tanguo from head to toe and saw that she was wearing a moon-white cheongsam. She sat elegantly on a stool with a cup of tea in front of her and a wooden folding fan beside her. She looked really pretty and delicate. Her face didn't look like a particularly smart person. She was only super beautiful. Looking at this happiness city, there are people wearing all kinds of clothes, skin colors, and hair colors. The people in the Rubik's Cube world came from different worlds. Some came here on their own accord, and some came here unintentionally. Chapter 1546. No one knew how many keys there were to open the Rubik's Cube world. Moreover, each key could be opened in a different way. It might not be like the Yin siblings who opened it with a drop of blood. Tanguo, do you have any ideas? While the Yin siblings were having a heated discussion, Di Qinming noticed Tanguo, who was deep in thought with her head lowered. He looked at her with a pair of penetrating eyes. Tanguo looked up. What ideas? Ideas about this city. Do you think there's anything strange about this city? Di Chenming, who had just entered the Rubik's Cube world, didn't understand the rules here. The ancient book that recorded the Rubik's Cube world didn't record much. Other than the keys to open it, it only described that there were many things that couldn't be bought outside. Not long after they arrived at Happiness City, they met Tanghua. Tanghua said that she had just arrived and it wasn't safe for her to be alone. She needed to find a small team to accompany her. Seeing that she was alone, they agreed. After that, she paid for their accommodation for a few days and even treated them to a few meals. Just like that, they became true teammates. According to the original plan, the original owner would take care of their food and accommodation for the next few days. But now, they were dreaming. I can't see anything for the time being. Why don't we ask around after we eat? Tanghua said with an embarrassed smile. Di Chenming saw that she really didn't know much about this place. Looking at her clothes, she must be a pampered young miss who accidentally fell into this place. Maybe she was lucky to get some Rubik's Cube coins. It seemed like he had to think of a way himself. Ah Ming, I found a problem. Not only are the people here smiling every day, they also don't seem to leave the city. The pale Yi Yingxue tugged at Di Chenming's sleeve. Ah Ming, do you think there's a secret outside the city? Should we go and take a look? I was planning to leave the city but I was stopped. Yin Rui said helplessly. The other party didn't say anything. They just smiled and pulled me back from the city gate. It was very strange. After that, I planned to sneak out when no one was looking. I didn't expect them to find me and throw me back here. Ah Ming, why don't we sneak out tonight to take a look? Yi Yingxue suggested. Di Chenming didn't hesitate and quietly discussed with the others. They decided to go out tonight. Actually, they had just arrived yesterday afternoon and met the original owner not long after. Many of the people in the city were very strange. They had just arrived, so they didn't dare to ask too many questions for fear of danger. Why did he team up with Tanghua? It was because Tanghua looked the same as them. She didn't look like someone from this city. Instead, she looked like someone who had just come from outside. Of course not. There were other people with more normal expressions. However, these people all had vigilant looks on their faces and were unwilling to say anything to them. Every single one of them looked like they were not to be trifled with. Their bodies were emitting a cold aura, so they did not dare to casually ask anyone. SSS. F. F. Chapter 1547. People who had lived in this place for a long time lacked a sense of security. They felt that there was something wrong with everyone and that they could get themselves killed. As for bringing rookies along, that was even more impossible. They were already having a hard time keeping themselves alive. Tanghua looked at them quietly with a faint smile on her face. Yin Rui didn't know that the reason he was thrown out was because she had paid for the room at the inn. Before the room fee expired, everyone in the city would guarantee their lives. Once they did anything dangerous, they would stop them immediately. Why did they know so clearly? Of course, it was because they were locals of Happiness City. They were one with Happiness City and they were aware of every movement in Happiness City. At this time, Di Chenming and the rest were discussing going out at night to take a look. However, the original owner suggested that they go to the city wall to take a look instead of going out directly to avoid any danger. Their guess was right. After a certain time at night, everyone in the city would be asleep and no one would notice anything. This was the rule of Happiness City. Actually, after a few days, everyone who came here would slowly understand the secret of Happiness City. This time, Tanghua did not stop them. She frowned and asked, "Do we have to go out at night? I noticed it last night. After a certain time, the entire city will be quiet. So, night is the best time. Yingxue said. Tang Guo looked scared. Then I won't go. I'm a little scared. Tang Guo's scared look was not disgusting. Maybe it was because she was a beauty. The few of them felt that it was normal for a woman to be afraid of going out at night. Then you wait in the inn. Yingxue said, I'll accompany Ah Ming to take a look. Tang Guo quickly suggested, Yingxue, you're not in good health. I don't think it's good to go with too many people. It's better to let Di Qinming go alone. He has some skills and can move quickly. He's just going to see if there's any danger. He'll come back once he's done. It's hard to move around with too many people. Yingxue thought about it. She felt that her body was not in good health. If anything happened, she might implicate Di Qinming. She nodded and said, okay. Ah Ming, you go alone, okay? If you can't, I'll go with you. Yin Rui wasn't afraid. He was very curious about the situation outside the city. Di Qinming said, it's better if I go alone. Tang Guo is right. It's much more convenient to act alone. Just like that, Di Qinming decided to go out of the city alone in the middle of the night to check out the situation. The corners of Tang Guo's lips rose slightly. He was the male lead. No matter what difficulties he encountered, he definitely wouldn't die so easily. There was no need to worry. System, a black-hearted woman. That night, the entire Happiness City fell into silence. Zhai Qinming quietly climbed out of the window and crept toward the city wall. Yingxue was waiting by the window. Yin Rui and Yin Xiaofei weren't sleepy either. Tang Guo was sitting on a recliner with her eyes closed as if she had fallen asleep. In fact, she was asking the system to bring up the group interface. It had been a long time since she last greeted her friends in the group. Rubik's Cube World. She remembered that there were a few people in the group who were in the Rubik's Cube world. Campus Bell, is everyone here? Qi Xiao, sister, I'm here. Have you arrived at a new world? Chapter 1548. Ziyun, sister, what world is it this time? Mo Yuntian, is there any danger? If you need anything, remember to send us a message. Sister, don't be shy. Tang Guo looked at the three people's passionate and concerned words and smiled. If I really need anything, I won't be polite. This time, I have indeed arrived in a new world. Margaret, is it a magical world? Margaret was looking forward to it. Over the years, they could be said to have accompanied Tang Guo to many different worlds. She was looking forward to the day when Tang Guo could go to her magical world. So, almost every time Tang Guo appeared in the group and talked about a new world, she would ask if it was a magical world. Emmanuel, I hope it's our interstellar civilization world. But there are countless interstellar civilizations. I'm just dreaming. Misty Fairy, no matter what world it is, it's good that it didn't come to our world. This place is good except that we can't go out. It's the worst. Silver Hoop, don't you think so? Silver Hoop, yeah, I still want to ascend to the celestial world. I've been waiting for thousands of years. Fortunately, all the Rubik's Cube coins I've earned over the years have been fed to that dog's stomach. I really don't know when a key will appear. Misty Fairy, in order to go out, I've been living frugally for thousands of years. I can't even bear to buy a few skirts. I've given them all to the Rubik's Cube. All kinds of strange things can be drawn, but I can't get a key. I haven't even seen a strand of the key. Silver Hoop, Misty, there shouldn't be a strand of the key. Tang Guo watched the two of them bicker. Maybe it was because they had stayed in the Rubik's Cube world for too long. The two of them were originally very calm people. In the end, they were stifled by the Rubik's Cube world and became irritable. Everyone was already used to it. The two of them quarreled for a while and finally remembered that they still didn't know what world Tanghua had arrived in. As long as the Rubik's Cube world didn't rotate, or perhaps it wasn't time to earn Rubik's Cube coins, they would definitely come to the group to take a look. Compared to playing in the Rubik's Cube world, they preferred to listen to Tanghua's experiences in those small worlds. Every time he heard a story, his worldview would be refreshed. He felt like he had lived for a long time. Hearing their questions, Tanghua was silent for a moment before replying, "What a coincidence. I'm in the Rubik's Cube world this time." Inhuan and Piaomia Fairy both lost their voices at the same time. What? The school bell was in the Rubik's Cube world. What a joke. After confirming it a few times, Tanghua even said that she was in Happiness City. She also mentioned a lot of features, so the two of them had no choice but to believe her. Due to the huge commotion, the other people in the group all appeared. The world of the Rubik's Cube, they had learned a lot about it from Mist Fairy. It was a world filled with opportunities and dangers. At the same time, it was very difficult to leave this world. Now that they heard that Tanghua was inside, they couldn't stay calm anymore. Especially the three sworn brothers of Tanghua. They were so anxious that they were trying to think of a way to help her get away. It was a pity that they weren't in the Magic Cube world. This place wasn't a place where one could enter as they wished. One needed a certain amount of lucky chances. Ziyun, what should I do? This is a little worrying. Qi Xiao, yeah, I'm so worried. What should I do? My sister actually ended up in that damned place. Chapter 1549. Mo Yuntian, Misty, Silver Hoop, if you meet a girl this time, you must take good care of her. It's so dangerous inside, don't let her be in danger. If you need anything, just tell me. I'm now a giant in the immortal world, I can get anything I want. After Mo Yuntian finished speaking, Qi Xiao and Ziyun quickly typed a long paragraph to express that it was like this. Anyway, the whole paragraph only had one meaning, which was to ask them to help take care of Tanghua. No matter what she wanted, as long as they could get it, they would give it to them. Misty Fairy, you're treating us as outsiders. Since the school belle has come to our place, we will definitely treat her well. All these years, we've eaten so many delicacies of the school belle because she has some very special things that have helped us a lot. Silver Hoop and the other two agreed. Both of them felt that although the Rubik's Cube world wasn't a good place, since they came here because of an opportunity, there was no other way. However, it wasn't that easy to meet. In the Rubik's Cube world, you couldn't go to any world you wanted. It all depended on the rotation of the world. The next time you fell into a world, you would be in that world. However, there was a very special place in the Rubik's Cube world, which was more humane. Many people weren't willing to be separated. In the trading city, there was a kind of contract charm. People who signed a contract charm could fall into a world together. It meant that as long as they met, they would fall into the same world. However, just this meeting would make people worry until their hair turned white. Then where are you guys now? Tanghua asked. Silver Hoop, Death City. Originally, Silver Hoop and the other two were in different cities from Mist Fairy. Many years ago, the two of them met by chance. They used a contract charm, and from then on, they would fall into the same place every time they rotated. They were in the same group and were somewhat close. They could be considered as the only people who could be trusted in the Rubik's Cube world. We will definitely meet in the future. Tanghua said. In the plot of this world's male lead, Silver Hoop and Mist Fairy were also on it. Of course, their ending didn't seem to be good. She didn't know if it was fate, but every time she appeared in the world of her friends in the group, her friends were all cannon fodder. I don't know if it's because we're all cannon fodder, but it's easier to talk when we're all cannon fodder. Tanghua and the system teased each other. From her words, the system could tell that its great host was quite happy. Moreover, it felt that Silverhoop and Mist Fairy finally had a chance to get out. Don't forget, the city lord of the City of Trade was his great host. Wouldn't it be easy for her to pull some strings behind the scenes? Rules were useless in front of the great host. Tanghua and the two of them agreed that after each world rotation, they would notify each other in the group and report their location. As long as they meet, they would be in the same city, Actually, she had a way, right? Of. No. F. Now, she was the city lord of the Magic Cube World's Trade City. The survival of this place was closely related to her. They have. Chapter 1550. She didn't think that the Rubik's Cube world was evil. It could only be said that surviving here would make one more real. Evil and good could be portrayed vividly here and couldn't be concealed. Since there were so many benefits here, it wouldn't be easy to get out. This was the price to pay. After the conversation ended, Tanghua sent red packets of delicious food to her friends as usual. In every world, she had the habit of collecting good food. By the time she logged off, an hour had passed outside. Yingxue and the other two didn't sleep. They looked very worried as they stared outside the window. Tanghua yawned, leaned on the recliner, and continued to sleep. She wasn't worried about Di Qinming at all. He was the male lead and she didn't destroy his halo on purpose. So, he wouldn't die so quickly. System, bridge blackboard. You can provoke anyone, but you can't provoke such a black-hearted woman. When the sun rose, there was finally movement at the window. Tanghua opened her eyes and saw Yingxue hurriedly opening the window. Then, a bloody person fell in through the window. Yingxue was so frightened that she lost her voice. But she was still relatively calm. "Ah Ming, what happened to you?" "What happened?" Di Qinming's injuries weren't light, but they weren't life-threatening. It was just that he was bleeding. Yingxue quickly turned on the water and helped him clean up. After a while, Di Qinming changed into a clean set of clothes and came out. His face was pale. Yin Rui was frightened when he saw him like that. "Is it so dangerous outside the city?" "Qinming, what happened to you last night?" Di Qinming frowned. Thinking about what happened last night, he didn't feel good. Seeing the curious look on their faces, he deliberately observed Tanghua. Seeing that she was indeed a little scared and curious, he dispelled the doubts in his heart. Outside Happiness City, there are monsters and beasts. Di Qinming's eyes were also filled with fear. He could not describe the scene when he was surrounded by monsters just a few steps out of the city. There are too many of them to count. They bite anyone they see. The reason why I'm still alive is because although there are many of them and they bite people, their teeth are not sharp and their speed is relatively slow. I only managed to escape with my life after running for an entire night. Big brother Qinming, why didn't you just run into the city? Yin Xiaofei couldn't help but ask. Wouldn't you be saved if you turned around and ran back into the city? The others were also puzzled. Di Qinming took a deep breath and said, "The moment I left the city, the entire city disappeared from my sight. I was surrounded by those monsters. When the sun rose, the city gate reappeared in my sight. Is it that strange?" Yin Xiaofei was stunned. That means this place is getting stranger and stranger. Also, it's safer in the city. But we're here to look for medicine. There's clearly no medicine in this city, said Yin Rui. Why don't we ask the people below? Yi Ingxue suggested. Ah Ming, I'll bring you some food. When it came to food, the four of them looked very uncomfortable. What the hell is this happiness city? The food here is really disgusting. After they finished eating, the waiter would come up and ask them if they were happy. That was why they were puzzled. Why were the people in this city smiling so happily? Tang Guo followed them down to eat. Looking at the half-cooked food in front of her, it was no wonder that they weren't used to it. She wasn't used to it either. Host, just eat 2 mouthfuls. Eat slowly and enjoy the good food. He knew very well that his host's big mouth was super picky. After they finished eating, the waiter came up again. He first asked Di Chenming and the others, "Are you guys happy?" "Not at all," Yin Rui said hurriedly. Yin Xiaofei said, "Really not." She was in a lot of pain now. Yi Ingxue hesitated for a moment and said, "Happy." The waiter's smile widened. He actually took out 2 Rubik's Cube coins from his pocket. "As long as you're happy." Then, he passed the Rubik's Cube coins to Yi Ingxue. Then, he looked at Di Chenming. The latter hurriedly said, "Happy." "It's too fake. One look and I can tell that you're not happy." Chapter 1551. The waiter dropped a sentence and walked in front of Tang Guo. He glanced at the food on Tang Guo's plate and looked at Tang Guo strangely. Tang Guo said, "I'm very happy." Under the shocked gazes of Di Chenming and the others, the waiter took out a bag of magic cube coins and placed it in front of her. "I wish you happiness." Di Chenming stared at the food that Tang Guo had only eaten 2 mouthfuls. It was strange. He had finished eating, but she had only eaten 2 mouthfuls. How did she get a bag of magic cube coins? As for him, he was actually despised by the waiter. The waiter turned to another table to serve other customers. Yin Rui hurriedly shouted, "Wait, waiter, come back. I'm very happy too. I'm so happy that I could die. So, quickly give him a bag of magic cube coins." Unexpectedly, the waiter turned around and smiled at him. "Sir, are you trying to cheat me of my magic cube coins?" Yin Rui said, "Yes, but why didn't you fall for it?" The waiter ignored Yin Rui. Yin Xiaofei wanted to imitate Yin Rui and say that she was very happy. But seeing that her brother was exposed, she could only give up on that idea. Then, everyone's gaze landed on Tang Guo's face. She had only eaten 2 mouthfuls of food and said that she was very happy. But the waiter took out a bag of magic cube coins and gave it to her. Wasn't that a little strange? After they returned to their room, Yin Rui couldn't help but ask Tang Guo, "Why did the waiter give you a bag of magic cube coins?" "Maybe it's because I'm good-looking," Tang Guo replied. Yin Rui sized up Tang Guo. She was indeed good-looking, but the waiter shouldn't be infatuated with her. His sister was quite good-looking, and so was Yi Ingxue. As for him, he could be considered quite handsome as well. "I also received 2 magic cube coins. I didn't expect that by answering happiness would be able to receive the currency here." Yi Ingxue spread out the 2 magic cube coins in her palm. Her intelligent eyes lit up. Could this be the way to earn magic cube coins? I think it's more than that. Why don't we go to the streets today and find out more information about Happiness City? In order to survive here, Rubik's Cube coins must be indispensable. The female lead was indeed the female lead. She was quite smart. "Yes." Tang Guo responded. In this group of people, except for Di Chenming, the others did not have any enmity with the original owner. After Di Chenming killed the original owner of the body, when the magic cube world collapsed, Yi Ingxue and the others didn't see the original owner of the body. They even tried to think of all sorts of ways to find her whereabouts. Di Qinming was afraid that Yi Yingxue and the Yin siblings would be estranged from him, so he kept this matter a secret. Because he knew that if he said that he killed the original owner, even if it was to get out, even if Yi Yingxue knew that the original owner was the city lord of the City of Exchange, she would not forgive him. Yi Yingxue was indeed a real female lead. She was intelligent, kind, and had her own principles. Needless to say, Yin Rui and Yin Xiaofei weren't bad people. Therefore, in this world, there were only two people she needed to take revenge on. The first was Di Qinming. The second was the soul and the dagger. Host, if you want to kill Di Qinming, you will still have to become enemies with these three people. Anyway, they can't defeat me. After I kill Di Qinming, I'll just throw them out. Moreover, the magic cube world is full of changes. Without my help, will Di Qinming remain the same? Chapter 1552. System, alright, he's worrying too much. Although the host didn't have any enmity with Yi Yingxue and the other two, she didn't care about them. If she said that she wanted to mess with Di Qinming, she would do it. It was useless for anyone to hate her. After discussing, the few of them prepared to go downstairs and explore the streets to observe the situation in Happiness City. Di Qinming, Yi Yingxue, and Yin Rui formed a team while Tanguo and Yin Xiaofei formed a pair. Yin Xiaofei wanted to ask Tanguo where they were going to observe the situation, but Tanguo had already started walking. She hurriedly followed him and soon arrived at a jewelry store. Tanguo was looking at the jewelry excitedly. She couldn't help but remind her. We are here to observe the situation in Happiness City. Yin Xiaofei said softly, afraid that she would attract the attention of the surrounding people. The people who entered the jewelry store weren't just locals of Happiness City. Most of them came from different worlds. These people didn't seem easy to get close to. Yin Xiaofei's uneasy look was seen by many people. Then, they didn't think that Yin Xiaofei was a dangerous person and didn't look at her. Buying things can also be considered as observing everything in Happiness City. Tanguo took out a big bag of magic cube coins and bought a lot of jewelry. She even hung a necklace around Yin Xiaofei's neck. Yin Xiaofei didn't know whether to laugh or cry. She didn't expect the shop assistant to walk in front of her with a smile and ask, "Are you happy?" Again. With the previous experience, Yin Xiaofei was instantly energized. She nodded her head like a chick pecking rice. Yes, I'm really happy. As long as you're happy. Then, the shop assistant actually gave Yin Xiaofei 2 magic cube coins. Holding the 2 magic cube coins, Yin Xiaofei still couldn't believe it. So if she said she was happy, she would get magic cube coins. Wasn't it too easy to get money? But thinking about how Tanguo spent a big bag of magic cube coins to buy these jewelry, it wasn't worth it. Tanguo put a brooch on herself. As expected, the shop assistant smiled and asked her if she was happy. Yin Xiaofei was instantly energized. She got a big bag of magic cube coins last time. She wouldn't get it this time, right? She must have been lucky the last time. That waiter was stupid. She believed that no one would have such good luck. However, when Tanguo said that she was happy, the shop assistant took out a big bag of magic cube coins and gave them to Tanguo. Yin Xiaofei was totally shocked. Tanguo was carrying a bag of magic cube coins. She felt particularly inconvenient, so she asked the shop assistant, "Is there anything that can help me carry these magic cube coins? We sell magic cube space bags and magic cube space rings here. They all have a certain amount of space inside and can be used to store these items," the shop assistant replied with a smile. Yin Xiaofei finally came back to her senses. It turned out that buying things could really give her a lot of information and a lot of money. What should she do? She suddenly liked this world. It was too blissful. No wonder it was called Blissful City. Wait, why did she only get 2 Rubik's Cube coins, but Tangua got a big bag of coins? Tangua was already choosing a Rubik's Cube space ring. She touched a diamond-studded ring and asked, "How many Rubik's Cube coins is this?" 1,000. Tangua handed the bag of magic cube coins she just got to the shop assistant because there were exactly 1,000 of them in a bag. "Then I'll buy one." "In Xiaofei, is this how people describe spending money like water?" Chapter 1553. Tangua had only been here for a short period of time. So this was what she meant when she said that she had accidentally gotten a lot of Rubik's Cube coins. In Xiaofei also realized that the shop assistant would only ask the person if they were happy once a day. So, although it was easy to earn Rubik's Cube coins by answering that they were happy, it wasn't that easy to earn more. And not every time one could get Rubik's Cube coins. Just now, she saw a few people who reluctantly said that they were happy, but the shop assistant still smiled and said, "You're too perfunctory. You're not happy at all." Or they would say, "You're so fake. You actually want to cheat me of my Rubik's Cube coins." Following Tangua out, Yin Xiaofei glanced at the beautiful gemstone ring on Tangua's finger. "Tangua, you're really willing to spend 1,000 Rubik's Cube coins. I think it's easier to get Rubik's Cube coins here. This thing can be used. It can be used to store the jewelry I bought. Later, I'll earn some more and buy 2 more dresses." Yin Xiaofei looked at Tangua's beautiful cheongsam and the wooden fan in her hand. A beauty indeed loved beauty. A beauty even had preferential treatment. "I don't understand why you can get such a big bag of Rubik's Cube coins every time. 1,000 Rubik's Cube coins. It's really because I'm beautiful." System, host is fooling children again. But Yin Xiaofei believed it. Yes, Tangguo was really beautiful. She didn't believe it before, but after 2 more times, she believed it. About 2 hours later, Tangguo met up with Di Qinming and the others. They met at the food court of Happiness City. At the entrance of the food court, there were a few big words written on a banner: "Want to get rich in one day? Come and eat. You can get Rubik's Cube coins by eating." Yin Xiaofei was a little excited. Tangguo walked in and saw Di Qinming and the others. In front of Di Qinming, there were a few big bowls. There were a few empty bowls beside them. It was obvious that they had eaten. Beside each of them stood a person who looked like a waiter. They were all locals of Happiness City. To differentiate between locals and foreigners, one only needed to look at whether they were smiling all the time. Di Qinming was eating. When Tangguo walked in front of him, he had already finished the food in his bowl. Then the waiter next to him asked, "Is it good?" "It's very delicious," Di Qinming said without thinking. Then, the waiter handed him 10 Rubik's Cube coins, which Di Qinming accepted expressionlessly. Yi Yingxue wiped his sweat. "Ah, Ming, can you still eat? Do you want to take a break?" "It's all right. I can finish the remaining 3 bowls." Di Qinming looked willing. Why was he so keen on earning Rubik's Cube coins? It was because the 3 of them heard that if they wanted to stay in Happiness City, they would need to find a place to stay. No matter what, as long as they found a place to stay, they would be safe for the time being. Otherwise, they would be chased out of the city when it got dark. Last night, he had been chased and bitten by beasts for most of the night. He really didn't want this to happen again. He also knew that answering happiness would give him a Rubik's Cube coin. But he had to spend the Rubik's Cube coin before anyone would ask him if he was happy. Later on, he came to this place by accident. He wanted to earn some Rubik's Cube coins first so that he could at least stay in the city. He couldn't pin his hopes on a woman like Tangua. After all, they had only known each other for a day or two. Who knew if she had any ulterior motives? He was used to having his life in his hands. Chapter 1554. Enrich was eating too. It was obvious from his expression that the food tasted awful. Xiaofei sat beside Enrich and asked in a low voice, "Brother, is it good?" "It's good." Enrich didn't dare to say it wasn't good. There was a waiter looking at him. Xiaofei reacted too. "Then I'll have a bowl too." Eating a bowl would earn her 10 Rubik's Cube coins. It was more profitable than answering happiness. Tangua didn't ask for food. She chose an empty seat and sat down, watching them eat and earn Rubik's Cube coins. Xiaofei had just taken a bite when she spat it out. "Oh my God, it's so awful. How can you say it's good? Brother, am I your sister?" Before Enrich could answer, the waiter took Xiaofei's bowl away and said to her with a smile, "You're stripped of your right to eat in the food court and earn Rubik's Cube coins." Xiaofei was speechless. Enrich couldn't help but laugh. He ate the food in his bowl happily, looking like he was enjoying himself. Xiaofei sat down beside Tangua, feeling bored. "You can do this. Luckily, I'm pretty. I don't have to work so hard to earn money." Tangua waved the wooden fan in her hand and smiled happily. Xiaofei touched her face. It was amazing to be pretty. She could get 1,000 Rubik's Cube coins just by answering happiness. Mississippi, just then, a white-haired old woman with a walking stick came to Xiaofei with a smile. "The food tastes awful, doesn't it?" "It does," Xiaofei said. The old woman took out a fragrant bun from her basket. Xiaofei hadn't eaten anything delicious for 2 days. Her eyes lit up. "Granny, are you selling buns?" "No." The old woman handed the bun to Xiaofei. "Try it. Is it good?" Xiaofei hesitated. How could she eat something from a stranger? What if there was something wrong with it? But she looked around. No matter how bad this person was, she wouldn't dare to poison her to death in front of so many people, right? Honestly, the buns looked too delicious. "Then I'll help myself." Xiaofei couldn't stand the gluttony in her stomach. She took the bun and swallowed it in 2 bites. It was really delicious. Seeing this, Tangua did not stop him. When she came to this world, she had said that she would not interfere in any of their affairs. Whether it was good or bad, it had nothing to do with her. Moreover, she was acting as a rookie. If she was too smart, it would arouse suspicion. As an adult, one should understand that no matter how good a gift from a stranger was, it was best not to accept it, especially if it was placed in the stomach. Xiaofei just couldn't resist the temptation and swallowed it. Who could she blame? "Granny, are you really not selling buns? It's really delicious. I'll buy some for you. I want to share them with my companions." Xiaofei touched her 2 Rubik's Cube coins and suddenly felt a little embarrassed. "How much is one?" "I have 4 companions, so I want 4 buns." "Miss, since you like my buns so much, why don't you stay and become a citizen of Happiness City? You'll be able to eat such delicacies every day," the old lady said with a loving smile. Xiaofei quickly shook her head. "Although Happiness City is pretty good, I don't want to stay here." She was not from here. She came in to look for medicine and would leave in the future. Chapter 1555. Are you sure you don't want to stay? If you stay here, not only will you be able to eat delicious buns, but you will also be immortal. As long as Happiness City is here, you won't die. Yin Xiaofei was stunned. But when she thought of the people in Happiness City, she didn't want to smile all the time. She shook her head. No, I'm sorry. I don't want to stay. Oh. The old lady's smile didn't change. She stretched out her hand in front of Yin Xiaofei. Miss, a bun costs 100 Rubik's Cube coins. Yin Xiaofei, system, ha ha ha. Tang Guo couldn't help but laugh. She saw Yin Xiaofei reaching into her pocket and taking out 2 Rubik's Cube coins. She was already laughing while holding her fan. Yin Xiaofei quickly turned around to look for Yin Rui. When Yin Rui heard what happened, his expression changed. He had eaten 10 bowls of food and earned 100 Rubik's Cube coins. Now, Yin Xiaofei had to spend 100 Rubik's Cube coins for a bun. Although he was angry, he had to give all the Rubik's Cube coins to Yin Xiaofei for his sister. The old lady took the Rubik's Cube coins and left the place. She wandered around the crowd. Are you new here? You fell into that old lady's trap. She wants you to stay in Happiness City to be laborers. A man beside him said, don't be fooled by their smiles in Happiness City. They're not good people. Just remember that there's no free lunch in this world. You won't fall into her trap. Did you hear that? There's no free lunch in this world. Yin Rui knocked Yin Xiaofei's head and rubbed his bulging stomach. I can't eat today. Come back tomorrow. It's a waste. But it's good too. We can save a day's worth of food. Di Chenming couldn't eat either. After hearing about Yin Xiaofei's experience, they felt that they couldn't stay in Happiness City. It's still early. Let's go to other places. Maybe we can find something else, Yi Yingxue suggested. When the sun set, they finally found out a lot about Happiness City. They also found out that if they didn't choose to stay in Happiness City forever, they would be teleported to another place that was 100 times more dangerous than Happiness City after a month. Even after hearing this, they didn't plan to stay. In Happiness City, there was a happiness tree. As time was limited, everyone would return to their houses after dark. No one was allowed to enter the Tree of Happiness. They planned to go back to rest first and continue tomorrow. The place where they lived was very close to the city gate. Tang Guo walked to the entrance of the inn and saw a large group of people gathered at the city gate. There was even a large group of people being driven to the city gates from all directions. When it's dark, those who don't have magic cube coins to pay for their rooms will be kicked out and won't be allowed in until dawn. Yi Yingxue said, among these people, if they are still alive tomorrow morning, most of them will choose to stay in Happiness City. That's too inhumane, Yin Xiaofei couldn't help but say. Tang Guo continued, this is the rule of Happiness City. You can stay in the city for one night with 20 Rubik's Cube coins. It's very simple. You should think about why they can't get it even with 20 Rubik's Cube coins. But if we chase them out and get chased by so many monsters, we'll die, Yin Xiaofei said. If they agree to stay in Happiness City forever, they won't die, Tang Guo said with a smile. Chapter 1556. Yin Xiaofei said, but they didn't want to, right? Happiness City didn't kill them. They were the ones who didn't want to. Didn't they choose to end up like this? Does Happiness City owe them anything? Yin Xiaofei didn't know what to say. Of course, they didn't owe them anything. She just felt that they weren't very humane. Most of them came here willingly. Are you guys the same? Tang Guo asked. Yi Yingxue nodded. Yes, we came here willingly. You're right. Since we're in someone else's place, we have to follow the rules. Also, they gave us a chance to get Rubik's Cube coins. Even if we don't get Rubik's Cube coins, we won't lose our lives. We'll just lose our freedom. That's true. It's not a good thing to always take advantage of others. Tang Guo looked at Yi Yingxue and asked, "Why did you come here?" "I'm suffering from a terminal illness." Ming found the Rubik's Cube world in an ancient book. It said that there's a cure for terminal illnesses and a way to extend one's life. I didn't expect the Rubik's Cube world to be so complicated. Di Qinming continued. We don't know where we'll be next month. So I plan to get as many Rubik's Cube coins as I can in case of emergencies. What about you, Tang Guo? Why did you come here? Yin Xiaofei asked. Tang Guo said, I'm curious. Wasn't she curious? The original owner of the body lost her life because of her curiosity and destroyed the entire Rubik's Cube world. Once the Rubik's Cube world was destroyed, the people who signed a contract with the Rubik's Cube world would be destroyed as well. With her around, the Rubik's Cube world could only survive. It couldn't be destroyed. They didn't say anything else and went back to their rooms to rest. When the sky was about to brighten, they went downstairs to look at the city gate. When the city gate opened, Tang Guo saw many people in ragged clothes running out. There were big and small wounds on their bodies. Someone shouted, I choose to stay. I want to stay and become a citizen of Happiness City. There were also people who didn't want to stay and went into the city to get Rubik's Cube coins. There were about 1,000 people who went out yesterday. Tang Guo counted those who came back. There were about 800 people who came back. Therefore, 200 people lost their lives in one night. After that, those who agreed to stay in Happiness City did not change their minds even after repeated questioning. At that moment, it was as if a spell had landed on them. He healed their injuries and changed their clothes into clean ones. At the same time, their faces that were filled with pain and fear were no different from the locals of Happiness City. Other than the smiles on their faces, nothing else could be found. He had clearly saved his life, and he didn't have to worry about losing his life in the future. He could even live forever. However, the onlookers felt chills run down their spines when they saw this scene. Yin Xiaofei shuddered. She thought to herself that it was fortunate that she hadn't agreed to stay. Otherwise, she would have to keep this smile on her face every day. It would be too scary. It's time for dinner again. Under the jealous gaze of Yin Xiaofei and the others, Tang Guo answers that she is happy and the waiter still gives her 1,000 magic cube coins. She's beautiful. Before anyone could ask anything, Tang Guo looked up and said, this waiter has good taste and gentlemanly demeanor. He knows that beautiful women need to be taken care of. Yin Xiaofei, she believed it. Yi Yingxue didn't know whether to believe it or not. But from her observation, only Tang Guo had such preferential treatment. Chapter 1557. After eating breakfast, Tang Guo and the others approached the location of the happiness tree. When they reached the happiness tree, they saw a sea of people. Countless people were sitting around a huge ancient tree. The trunk of the ancient tree needed 10 people to encircle it. There were many branches on top of the trunk, and on the branches were dense leaves. The leaves were connected and stacked on top of each other. When the sun rose, the dark green leaves shone brightly. When they got closer, other than Tang Guo, Yi Yingxue and the rest were stunned. It turned out that the people sitting around the happiness tree were mumbling something. When they were far away, they only felt that it was noisy. When they got closer, they suddenly heard someone beside them looking up at the happiness tree and saying softly, I'm so happy. I'm really so happy. I'm happy every day. Tree, believe me. I'm really happy. Tree, I'm the happiest person. Yin Xiaofei held her breath and said in a low voice, are they crazy? Yi Yingxue's eyes were sharp. She noticed that there was a basket in front of these people. Tang Guo indifferently stood to the side, found an empty place, took out a cushion, and sat cross-legged on it. Yi Yingxue and the rest were puzzled. What was she doing? Then, they heard her say, "I'm the happiest person." When Tang Guo said this, her face was brimming with a smile, which made people stare blankly. Bits of sunlight fell on her body. The smile on her face made people feel that she was very happy. They didn't know if it was an illusion, but they all believed that she was the happiest person. The system could feel that his energy was increasing rapidly. It wondered which world the host was reminiscing about to make him feel so happy. This increase in energy made him afraid. Di Qinming didn't understand either. When he saw Tang Guo take out a basket and put it in front of them, he was even more confused. Yi Yingxue remembered that Tang Guo could get 1,000 Rubik's Cube coins just by saying that she was happy. She hesitated for a moment and said, "Why don't we give it a try? No matter what the outcome is, it shouldn't be anything bad." In the past few days, they had also felt that as long as they could stay in Happiness City, their lives would not be in danger. It seemed like fighting was also prohibited in Happiness City. Previously, they even saw someone getting into a fight and being punished by the people of Happiness City, not being allowed to stay in the city for a night. With such a punishment, Happiness City was indeed Happiness City. As long as they had Rubik's Cube coins, they would be safe for the next month. Therefore, Yi Yingxue believed that if she did what those people and Tang Guo did, she wouldn't lose anything even if she didn't gain anything in the end. "Then I'll go find a few baskets." Zhai Qinming agreed to this. Not long after, he brought a few baskets over. The few of them sat down beside Tang Guo and talked about how happy they were. They looked silly. "Host, Yi Yingxue is really smart. She is such a smart female lead. If you want to kill Di Qinming in the future, she will definitely be an obstacle." The system didn't mean to do anything to Yi Yingxue, but to express a fact. She can stop it, that's her ability. Since she can't stop it, she can only endure it. As for how Yi Yingxue would grow up in the future, she didn't care at all. Chapter 1558. If she wanted to kill someone, no one could stop her. Now, they were only at the first city. They still had to go through 4 more before they could reach the best trading city, which was where she lived. It went without saying how dangerous it was in the middle. What would happen in the future would depend on their fate. She wouldn't do anything to people who had no grudges with her just because they might become an obstacle in the future. From the beginning to the end, Tang Guo only told the blissful tree that she was very happy once. She wasn't like the others, who kept saying that they were very happy. Yin Xiaofei felt that there must be some benefits, so she kept saying that she was very happy. She even recalled the happy days in the past. Yin Rui lost 100 Rubik's Cube coins yesterday and his heart ached. Just like Yin Xiaofei, he kept recalling the happy days in the past. As the two of them reminisced about the past, the happiness in their mouths was really dry and became sincere. Yi Yingxue was also smiling. She was recalling the days when Di Qinming was by her side ever since she was diagnosed with a terminal illness. Even when the top medical experts in the country and abroad said that she didn't have long to live, Di Qinming didn't give up on her. He was busy reading books every day. She felt that she was very happy. So when she said that she was happy, she was also very sincere. But Di Qinming was different. He said that he was happy, but in fact, he was thinking about everything that had happened since he came to Blissful City. He was a scheming person who was used to having everything in the palm of his hand. In his memories, he wouldn't recall the happiness of the past. In his eyes, there was only his goal and what he wanted to achieve in the future. To put it simply, Di Qinming was more realistic and rational. He didn't like to reveal his feelings. Tangua saw that when Di Chenming said that he was happy, his eyes showed that he was deep in thought. She laughed out loud unkindly. Not long after, the people sitting around the blissful tree felt that the blissful tree was emitting a strong white light, causing them to be temporarily blind. When the white light disappeared, their eyes returned to normal. Many people didn't look at the blissful tree, but at the basket in front of them. Yi Yingxue felt something and also lowered her head to look at the basket in front of her. Two bright red fruits the size of half a fist were lying in the basket. They were moist and looked especially pleasing. Yin Rui and Yin Xiaofei also had two bright red fruits in their baskets, just like Yi Yingxue. What fruit is this? Yin Xiaofei swallowed her saliva. She had finally managed to eat a delicious bun yesterday, but it had cost her 100 Rubik's Cube coins. She was almost scolded to death by her brother. If this fruit could be eaten, it would be great. Di Chenming glanced at the two fruits in Yi Yingshue's basket and then looked at his own basket. There was a dead leaf lying there. His expression was indescribable. Ha ha ha, big brother Chenming, why are there only leaves in your basket? And they're all withered and yellow. So, what exactly did you do to make the blissful tree dislike you? Di Chenming was a little confused. He did not do anything. Like the others, he said that he was very happy. He really couldn't understand why the others were fruits while he was only a leaf, and it was even withered and yellow. Holy shit! It can't be. Yin Rui suddenly remembered that Tangua had always been treated well, so he quickly turned around to look at the basket in front of her. Chapter 1559. When he saw the basket full of fruits, he couldn't help but swear. Yin Rui's voice attracted the attention of the others. The first to scream was Yin Xiaofei. Why are there so many? Does the tree also know who is prettier? Yin Xiaofei wished she could turn into a lump of mud. Even if she was ugly, she could be molded again. Yi Yingxue couldn't take it anymore. Tangua, how did you do it? I'm pretty, right? Tangua touched the red fruits in the basket. Other than being pretty, I really can't think of a reason why the happiness tree would give me so many fruits. Di Chenming couldn't help but admit defeat. He had always suspected that Tangua wasn't simple. But the happiness tree was a magical thing. It shouldn't be something she could control. Perhaps she was one of the luckier ones. Then, he saw that some people didn't have any fruits in their baskets. Instead, they had two leaves or flowers. He felt better. Although he was the only one who had a withered leaf, at least not everyone could get a fruit. Yin Xiaofei still didn't eat anything carelessly. She was afraid that she would die. Everything here was strange. If she caused any more trouble, even Buddha wouldn't be able to do anything about it. Not long after, the few of them found out the use of the red fruits. He also understood why so many people had gathered around the Tree of Happiness. Non-locals of Happiness City had a chance to express their happiness to the happiness tree every day. It was also a way to pray. When the happiness tree accepted their prayers, it would give them the red fruits according to their level of happiness. The fruit was called the happiness fruit. Non-locals of Happiness City couldn't eat it. Once they ate the happiness fruit, they would automatically become a resident of Happiness City. They would never be able to leave Happiness City. Hearing this explanation, Yin Xiaofei was so shocked that she broke out in cold sweat. Tangua saw that the few of them were so happy. She was especially happy. Without her reminders, the few of them could finally embark on their adventure in the Rubik's Cube world. If she had reminded them, their lives wouldn't be so exciting. They should thank me. This is like watching a drama. It's boring if there are spoilers. If I didn't remind them, they would think that this experience was the most exciting in their lives. Oh, really? Why did he feel that it was a bad taste? What was the use of the happiness fruit? It was very useful and could be exchanged for magic cube coins. Among the locals of Happiness City, the happiness fruit was in short supply. Now, several people surrounded Tanguo with happy smiles on their faces. They had noticed her when the fruit of happiness had filled her basket. There were 3 people surrounding Tanguo. Tanguo realized that with these 3 people around, the others wouldn't dare to come up even if they wanted to. Oh. Miss, the happiness fruit is useless to outsiders like you. Why don't you sell it to us? Okay. Tanguo had no intention of staying. The smiles on the 3 men's faces deepened. When they heard Tanguo say that she would split it into 3 and sell it to the 3 of them, they had no objections at all. The price of a fruit of happiness was 500 Rubik's Cube coins. For people who had just arrived here, this was a huge sum of money. Yin Xiaofei felt like she was dreaming when she received 1,000 Rubik coins. Yi Yingxue also breathed a sigh of relief. With the magic cube coins, at least she didn't have to worry about being chased out of the city. The most unhappy person was probably Di Qinming. Chapter 1560. He thought that the withered leaves were useless. He did not expect that a withered leaf could be exchanged for a Rubik's Cube coin. This result was more embarrassing than the fact that it was useful. I heard from those people that the leaves, fruits, and flowers of the happiness tree will not fall. No matter if it is a local or an outsider, they are not allowed to pick them. Otherwise, they will be banished from the city and lose the right to enter the happiness city forever. Tanguo said. Yin Xiaofei's gaze landed on the Rubik's Cube space ring on Tanguo's hand. She could not help but swallow her saliva. She saw a huge pile of Rubik's Cube coins being kept by Tanguo just now. If only I was a peerless beauty. Yin Xiaofei said this in her heart. She did not expect to say it out loud. Seeing them looking at her, she blushed. Don't laugh. I know I am dreaming. Can't you let me dream? Di Qinming said that he wanted to go to the city to find out more information, especially about the date of the world's rotation and what to pay attention to. Tanguo said, then I won't go with you. I just made a fortune. I want to go to the shop to buy some pretty dresses. Okay, go ahead. Di Qinming also believed it. Maybe the people and trees in this city were all dogs for looks. When there was no conflict with Di Qinming, he was at most a cold person. He did not like to get close to others and would not easily open his heart to others. Speaking of which, he was indeed a male lead. Let's wait for Di Qinming to pull out a dagger and stab me. After Di Qinming and the others left, Tanguo was all smiles. She held the wooden fan and walked in the direction of the shop while communicating with the system. She wanted to see what Di Qinming's choice would be this time. Would it be the same choice as before? No matter what, she had already decided not to reveal the secret of this world to Di Qinming. She would take care of them along the way. She had to take the risk herself. That was more exciting, wasn't it? System, as long as the host is happy. Even if the host wants to slit Di Qinming's throat, he would not object. Tanguo chose a variety of pretty dresses in the shop. In the end, she borrowed the fitting room in the shop and changed out of her cheongsam into a black tulle tutu skirt. She didn't change the wooden fan in her hand. It wasn't just a decoration, it was also her weapon. Furthermore, the wooden fan and the black tutu skirt looked quite nice. Tanguo walked out of the shop in high heels and a black tutu skirt. Just as she was about to turn the corner, she was blocked by a figure. She gently raised her chin, her beautiful eyes moving around the person's face for a moment. The corner of her lips curved slightly as she said, "Handsome, you're blocking my way. I'm looking for you." System, are all the men in the Rubik's Cube world so direct? He was not tactful at all. What if he scared the beautiful girl away? Why are you looking for me? Let's talk somewhere else. Before Tangua could react, everything around her changed, and she found herself in a room. She found a place to sit down and poured herself a cup of tea. Instead of staying in your own place, you came looking for me. You're really free. Then tell me, why are you looking for me? The man walked to her side and sat down as well. He was dressed in an ancient style and even had his hair tied up. He looked like an ancient person. His eyes landed on Tangua's face. Frowning slightly, he said, "Actually, I don't know either. I felt that you were here, so I came." Chapter 1561. Aren't you very busy there? You're busy catching criminals every day? Tangua asked. She clearly knew why the other party was here, but she still deliberately asked. She really didn't expect that the other party's status in this world was similar to hers. They were quite compatible. She just didn't know how he was doing. That's a small matter. You don't need me. Just operate on your own. Gong Wei's gaze still didn't move away from Tangua's face. 2 days ago, he suddenly woke up with a start. He didn't know what was in his mind. Subconsciously, he headed towards the city of trade. He was also very puzzled. Why did he go to the trade city to find that woman? When he reached the trade city, he found out that she had gone out. In the end, he used the special connection between the city lords and the Rubik's Cube world to find her location. He didn't expect to bump into her buying address as soon as he came. He almost directly appeared in her fitting room. Fortunately, he felt that something was wrong and hurriedly turned a corner and appeared outside the shop, waiting for her to come out. Now that you've seen me, Gong Wei, what do you plan to do? Tangua asked with a smile. System, it's confirmed. It's that guy. She didn't know if it was because of the failure of the appearance in the previous world, causing the host and the other party to be good friends for life. After that guy woke up, what kind of restriction did he put on her? Seeing how he was in such a hurry, she reckoned that when he came to this world, he would definitely look for her restriction. I don't know for now. I've been feeling strange recently. Gong Wei said honestly, why don't I follow you for a while? System, ha ha ha. You want to follow me? Yes, follow you. Tangua casually waved her hand and a full-length mirror appeared beside her. The two figures were clearly reflected in the mirror. She pointed, look. Gong Wei looked at the mirror and didn't understand what she wanted him to see. Look, you're wearing a long robe. You even tied up your hair and have a sword. You look like an old antique. Then, she pointed at herself and gently raised her chin. Her slender hand waved the wooden fan and smiled faintly at the mirror. I'm so fashionable and good-looking. I don't want an old antique by my side. Gong Wei looked at the two people in the mirror. The other party was wearing a mysterious black gauze dress, beautiful long curly hair, beautiful earrings, and an exquisite necklace around her neck. Then, he looked at himself. It seemed that walking together was a little disharmonious. He thought for a moment and snapped his fingers. The image in the mirror instantly changed. What do you think? Tangua turned around and couldn't help but laugh out loud. You're wearing a suit and leather shoes. Your shoes are shiny and your hair is combed neatly. All right, that's enough. Then I'll follow you from now on. Gong Wei confirmed it again. He had to figure out why he was suddenly in a trance a few days ago. He couldn't control himself and frantically searched for this woman in the magic cube world. Was there something wrong with him, or was there something wrong with her? She had to figure it out. He vaguely felt that it should be his problem. She didn't look like there was anything wrong with her, except that she was too beautiful. You can follow me, but you're not allowed to meddle in my affairs. Listen to me along the way. Gong Wei nodded. Sure. Alright, let's go. I'll take you to see my teammates. The two of them walked on the street. The man was handsome and the woman was beautiful. Walking together, they were indeed very attractive. Chapter 1562. The rate of turning heads was really 100%. Gong Wei was still a little uncomfortable at first. Later, he saw that her expression was normal and got used to it. After a while, Tang Guo actually held his hand. He lowered his head and stared at her hand. Just as he was about to ask why she was holding his hand, his mind suddenly quivered and he was so scared that he quickly swallowed his words. He felt that if he asked that question, there would be some bad consequences. You're a man, my lady. As a gentleman, it's normal for me to hold your hand when I see a lady wearing high heels and a small skirt. Tang Guo explained, if my skirt is too long, as a gentleman, you have to help me hold the skirt. Gong Wei, is that so? Why did she say it so matter-of-factly? He actually felt that it was natural too. It was really strange. When they were going up the stairs, Gong Wei looked at her pointy high heels and said subconsciously, be careful. After saying that, his expression froze. His brain seemed to be unable to control his tongue. Tang Guo looked up and smiled at him. Hold my hand. Even if I miss a step, I won't fall down. Was that so? But why didn't his hands listen to him? They were really carefully protecting her. What the hell? How could this woman fall just like that? She could smash a house into mud with a slap. How could she be injured? What was worse was that he was actually afraid that she would fall. System, host, you'll break your cutie like this. Tongzi, do you think he's unwilling at all? No. Although he was a little confused, those body movements were all subconscious. I'm giving him a chance. If I don't want to bother with this person, I'll turn around and leave. The system recalled the previous world. Although the two of them were together for life, Yun Bushio really suffered a lot in the past. If not for his high awareness, wouldn't the host have turned around and left coldly without giving him any chance to get close? Gong Wei's appearance made Yi Yingxue and the rest curious and surprised. Because Gong Wei was really too handsome. Di Qinming had to admit that in terms of appearance, he could not compare to Gong Wei. They all asked who Gong Wei was. Tang Guo was still holding on to Gong Wei's arm. I picked him up on the way. I saw that he was unfamiliar with the place and was quite good-looking, so I brought him back. It would be a pity if he was swallowed by the wild beasts outside the city. We are a couple. We are already engaged. This time, Gong Wei did not nod in agreement with Tang Guo. He suddenly had an epiphany and said this. After saying that, his mind was filled with question marks. However, in his heart, he felt that this was the most appropriate way to put it. But he was a little worried, so he glanced at Tang Guo carefully. Seeing that she was a little surprised but had no intention of refuting him, he felt slightly relieved and continued, we got separated earlier. So it's your boyfriend. Yin Xiaofei exclaimed, Tang Guo, you and your boyfriend are so compatible. You're both so good-looking. Tang Guo raised her eyebrows slightly and glanced at Gong Wei. She said with a smile, this guy just can't hold it in and spilled everything. Alright, we are a couple. Not only are we engaged, but we are also living together. So he will stay with me this month. There's no need to get a room. Gong Wei, there's no need to be so fast. Let's go, boyfriend. You must be very tired. Go back to your room and rest first. Gong Wei, are we really going to stay in the same room? Chapter 1563. The room Tanguo booked at the inn was not big. After all, the original intention of the original owner was to get close to ordinary people like Di Chenming and see if their relationship could withstand the test of the Rubik's Cube world. If she booked a luxurious room, it would be easy to arouse suspicion at first. Therefore, the bed in this room was also small and delicate. Although it was not a problem for two people to lie down, it would be very crowded. I said that because I thought it would not be easy to arouse suspicion. Gong Wei remedied after glancing at the small room. Tanguo turned back. There's no need to explain. You said it, so you'll be responsible. Responsible. Gong Wei tasted these two words and looked at the woman in front of him. If she had to be responsible, it was not impossible. He did not reject it in his heart. He vaguely felt that he had indeed made a mistake when he said the relationship between the two of them just now. Okay. Gong Wei replied, looking as if he was willing to be dealt with by the system. The system, who was watching silently, was overjoyed. This guy must have misunderstood something. Tanguo nodded. Since you agreed, then this bed is mine. Tanguo pointed to the small bed behind her. Under Gong Wei's somewhat puzzled gaze, she waved her hand. Other than this bed, you can sleep anywhere you want at night. Only the bed is not allowed. Tanguo met Gong Wei's eyes and emphasized again. Gong Wei also understood that he seemed to have misunderstood something. It turned out that the responsibility he wanted was different from the responsibility she wanted. Fortunately, he had prepared himself in his heart, but he did not expect things to be different from what he thought. The strange thing was, why was he still a little disappointed? Then I'll sleep on the floor. Tanguo went to the bathroom with a smile. Gong Wei stood in the room, feeling a little uncomfortable, especially when he heard the sound of water coming from the bathroom. He did not understand. The woman inside was obviously not an ordinary person, but she actually wanted to mix with this group of outsiders. Not only did she want to sleep, but she also wanted to take a bath. For these, wasn't it just a wave of the hand and use a little magic power to solve it? When Tanguo came out in a dry nightgown, Gong Wei glanced at her and quickly looked away. He had seen her before. She was beautiful, but he had not found her attractive. It was strange today. When he saw her, he could not take his eyes off her. Now that the two of them were in the same room, he was still a little nervous. Tanguo had already laid down. She glanced sideways at Gong Wei, who didn't know what to do. Aren't you going to wash up before sleeping? No need. Gong Wei waved his hand and cast some magic. A blanket and a pillow appeared on the ground. He glanced at the pajamas that Tanguo was wearing and snapped his fingers. Instantly, the clothes he was wearing turned into a set of pajamas, which actually matched the ones that Tanguo was wearing. Then, he lay down. Coincidentally, the position he chose happened to be next to the bed. Tanguo could see Gong Wei lying on his back while lying on her side. You're curious why I'm with those ordinary people? Gong Wei turned his head and looked at her. Why? Because I deduced that one of them will bring danger to our magic cube world. If this isn't handled properly, then the entire magic cube world might be destroyed. Is that so? Gong Wei became serious. This was indeed a very serious matter. Then why don't you arrest them all? Otherwise, when they reach Sin City, I'll get someone to arrest them and shoot them all. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure. Oh.